All right, people. How we doing? How we living? How we feeling?
Yeah.
It's a great day to be back. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Yesterday, Sunday, was the first day, I think, since...
So I think it was like the first Sunday really officially without football.
Well, also NBA. It's like it was like 6 months, I think, since there was no NBA or NFL.
Okay.
Or like any really relevant event. So we're really in the tough hours right now in the sports world. And honestly,
Maybe to the AFL.
I feel it with Dynasty football even. I feel like it's kind of a bit of a dead zone as well, waiting for the combine. I feel like, you hit these little pockets where it's just not as hyped as it is, let's say, early January, and then we get to Senior Bowl, then we get to the combine. And then, of course, the hype grows all the time when we get towards, what am I trying to say? Like actual rookie drafts, right? But
Yeah.
we're glad to be here with you guys. I mean, you can only learn so much about these players at some point. What's up, Suck on the News? Cheesehead, what's Gucci, man? Spencer, Charlie. Suck
What's
on the
up,
News
yeah?
says some tasty ones there. He's talking about the landing spots for tonight, which are in the chat.
Yeah.
It's also in the description. He says, scat to Cleveland. Bengals going first round on Loveland. Tyler Warren in Miami. Definitely going to be fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
What is up, Steel Mob? Welcome in. Fantasy Football Garage is here. Scribbles is here. Jalo is here. It says Cam Ward or Sanders. Come on, spill it. I have no strong conviction on this quarterback class at all. I do have Sanders quarterback 1, but it's not by much. It's very insignificant. Landing spot, draft capital obviously will be very important, and that is all in our draft guide as well, our rookie report, which you guys can view on the Flock site. What's up, Andrew? We are well. Hopefully you are well.
How you doing, brother?
Every says, need to watch Four Nations, my dude. Expose yourself to that puck. Yeah, there was a bunch of... My Twitter was like full of drama.
Yeah.
USA,
I saw that.
Canada. I was like, oh.
All
okay.
the Canadians are getting mad because the tariffs. Actually, I know nothing about politics. So
Yeah, we don't...
that's all I know. That
We don't
Trump
know
was raising the tariff and Canada's pissed as hell.
Well, yeah. And then I think Canada is even more upset that they lost 3-1 or something. Is the Four Nations, like, do you win something? Is it an exhibition match? What is it? I don't actually know. What's up, Peyton? Welcome
I'm
in.
actually looking that up.
What's up, Patrick? Excited to get to that review tonight for you. What's up, Kyle, DT, Jalo? Appreciate y'all for being here with us. Hey, be a friend. Smash that like button to show some love as the stream begins. We have a like goal today of 115. And if we reach that goal, we'll do a second mock draft, okay? And this is a stream that's going to have 2 parts. Part 1 is the rookie mock draft, all right? And part 2 is where we review some people's teams because they supported us on the Flock site. So, we are going to get to part 1. I will say one thing we need to briefly talk about is T. Higgins, because obviously the reports are coming out that he's going to get franchise tagged again. Now, this is, from what they're saying, their hope is to turn it into a long-term deal.
Yeah.
But
expectations.
the franchise tag is the worst case scenario, I guess, but it pretty much completely destroys any thought process out there that, you know what, maybe he's on a new team and maybe he could join this guy. Maybe he go to New England or Washington as a wide receiver. It doesn't matter. He's staying in Cincinnati is what it sounds like, which means probably pointless to mock wide receiver in round 1 to the Bengals again at this point moving forward, But we are going to do a rookie mock draft. Again, if we reach our like goal of 115, we will do a second rookie mock draft. Appreciate y'all for being here with us. And if people want to join this, how can they actually get in this one?
Oh, yeah, guys, join our Discord. That link is in the description. I'll put that link in the chat here as well. It is first come, first serve, so keep that in mind. Go to our Discord. Go to the Fantasyland tab with the orange footballs and go to announcements. That's where we put the link to each and every mock draft, with whether you're watching now or in the future. Okay, so make sure you are connected in the Discord. It is first come, first serve. Get it on the computer. It's just faster, easier.
Yeah.
Have a higher chance to get on or get in. And I'll send that link out here in 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Evie says it's made up. Andrew says it's a replacement for Olympics because the NHLers can't play. Can NHLers not play in the Olympics?
Wait, why is that?
Is that because it's like in their season or something? That's kind of crazy.
Is there not enough
What's up, Dominic?
players? No, surely there's enough hockey players.
What's up, Silas?
I actually have no idea.
Brendan, Albert, welcome. No, I think maybe the problem is it's during their season. But that's crazy. Like, the thought that all these countries aren't actually representing their best players is kind of insane. I feel like the Olympics should take place over anything else, but...
Well, that's the NHL. The NHL should take like time off then.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
people would rather not people would rather, but I don't know.
I agree with you. All right, let's take a second. Okay, let's start to transfer our mind to a new world. And that new world is the latest 7-round mock draft presented by our intern, Sammy Stacks. Now, this is the world we want to live in. If this is actually how the NFL draft panned out, what would it mean for Dynasty rookie drafts? How would it impact the way we draft? How would it impact the value we put on each player? So, in this world, Cam Ward is a Titan, round 1. Shador Sanders is a Giant, round 1. Right? Ted McMillan goes to the Raiders. So, I'm curious to see how people like that spot. Travis Hunter to the Jags. Reports are really up and down right now about his usage. I think I'm still holding true to we really won't know for sure.
Oh boy,
Ashton.
No, go ahead. Sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say all the reports coming out. He's gonna run like. Why would you do CB drills if you want to play wide receiver in the NFL or vice versa?
Well, yeah, he has to choose one position, so that didn't surprise me personally. And
so why not then go do wide receiver if you can get paid higher as a wide receiver?
Well, I think if he shows that he's an elite cornerback at testing, he has a chance to go top 5. Whereas if you show you're an elite wide receiver, that doesn't really move the needle at all for the combine. And in fact, combine doesn't matter as much for wide receivers really historically. But if you can show like you're an elite athlete at the cornerback position, that will prop you up the draft board. Also, if you think about it, all the testing that you would do for a wide receiver is not different for a cornerback. What would be different would be the drills. We'll still have his 40 time. We'll still have, like the broad jump, all these different, testing numbers you'll have. It's just he probably won't be in the drills. But that didn't surprise me. That surprised you?
I'm surprised that he did CB. I thought he would go wide receiver.
Really?
I thought or have the ability to do both. Like if you really want to showcase it and showcase that you can play both positions.
I don't know if you're allowed to play both. Are you?
Well, to participate in both drills, I don't see why not. I guess has there anyone in the history has done that before? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, it's still going to be a little bit of a mystery, but obviously he's going to be one of those guys where if we don't have clarity on it, we're probably going to have to push him out of the first round and then make him like a wild card second round pick in rookie drafts. All right, Ashton Genty to the Bears rather, linking up with Ben Johnson. Tyler Warren to the Dolphins, which we've seen before, and unfortunately, if you own Jonnu Smith, this would not be good to see. Then we see Colson Loveland to the Bengals, which is a great landing spot for him. You don't love that, you're adding another guy to a situation where you've already got Chase. It looks like T. Higgins is going to be part of that long term as well, so you don't love it from like a target share perspective. Luther Burden to the Bucks, which I'm starting to be more and more open to that landing spot when I think about, okay, they're probably doing this if they move on from Chris Godwin, right? Amika Egbuka, this is probably, I'll go out on a limb and say this is everyone's favorite landing spot for a wide receiver in round 1. The Rams, with them moving on from Puka Nacua. Then we get to go into round 2 where we see Travion Henderson to your Giants, Matthew Golden to the Patriots, Jalen Royals to the Saints, Omarion Hampton to the Cowboys, that's hot, Jack Besh to the Cardinals, Elijah Arroyo, my guy, to the Broncos, Trey Harris to the Steelers, Isaiah Bond to the Panthers, Caleb Johnson to the Texans. That's an interesting one. I think I'm very curious to see how that would impact, if we had a landing spot like that. That's one of those spots where we all hate it, but it could happen. right?
Yeah, no question.
Restrepo to the Ravens, Alec A. Manor to the Lions, Jaden Higgins to the Commanders, Jalen Knoll to the Eagles, into round 3 where we see Harold Fannin to the Saints, Savion Williams to the Bears, Quinshon Judkins to the Raiders, Tez Johnson to the Cowboys, love me some Tez, Mason Taylor to the Seahawks, Devin Neal, I like this little back-to-back here. Devin Neal as a Bronco, RJ Harvey, who I just brought in a video today, as a Charger. I love me some RJ Harvey. Cam Scattaboo to the Browns in round 3. Terrence Ferguson to the Rams. Into round 4 where Jalen Milroe is a Brown. Brashard Smith is a Patriot. Ty Felton is a Bill. Ja'Cory Brooks is a Jet. DJ Giddens is a Saint. Damian Martinez to the Bengals. That would be interesting. Caden Prather to the Titans. Dylan Sampson to the Steelers. Kobe Hudson to the Chargers. Kyle Williams. Hello. One of my favorite sleepers. We got him in round 4. I like that. Round 4, Kyle Williams to the Jaguars. Torrey Horton to the Texans. Jordan James to the Eagles. RIP. Ollie Gordon, right, to the Ravens. So Ollie Gordon, people. Ollie Gordon stands. This is good. He goes to the Ravens. Your heir apparent to King Henry, maybe. Gadsden to the Niners. Round 5 would be the last one we look at here. Trevor Etienne to the Vikings here. Woody Marks to the Jags. Will Howard to the Raiders. Jarquez Hunter to the Dolphins.
Jarquez, yeah.
Phil Moffa's there. And we get Scootin' Tootin' to the Panthers. Pat Bryant to the Browns. Pat Bryant just feels like a Brown for some reason. But again, if you want to look at round 6 and 7, or you want to look at the rest of this mock draft, I'll put the link in the chat. Also, it's in the description. So let's get this thing going here in 3, 2, 1. This is a super flex PPR tight end premium mock draft. Take as much time as you need. As Ashton Jinty does come off the board first overall. Remember, he went to the Bears in round 1. Warren Hampton next, which isn't a surprise considering he went to the Cowboys in round 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice too. Marion to the Cowboys. We get set to the Raiders at the 103. Luther Burden to the Bucks at the 104 there, and now you are on the clock.
Yeah, I'm loving Luther Burton and get a little more respect now. I don't know if you saw, I actually quote tweeted Matt Harmon because he was showing love to Luther Burden. Mm-hmm. As we all know, Matt Harmon is the GOAT when it comes to evaluating wide receivers. We all know that.
Perception.
But he was just talking about how much he loved watching him. And I said, you know what? The hate for Luther Burden on our channel is about to go down exponentially because anytime I say something positive on Luther Burden, there are people out there who are like, so that means you don't like Tet? Right? That means you don't like Tet McMillan at all? Or like, Luther Burden's not actually good. So it's funny, now that the GOAT has spoken, I think we'll start to see less and less hate for one Luther Burden. I am on the clock. Lots of options here. Man, wow, there's just two players in particular I'm really torn on right here. One's a running back, one's a wide receiver. Man. Wow, I mean, this is tough. I think if you guys go running back early second round, I think it tells me that you don't believe Tyrone is your starter. So I will go Travion Henderson here, who, again, early second round to the Giants here, picked 34 overall. I was finding it really difficult between him and one other player, but if you look at running backs in round 2, 71% hit rate historically. I mean, let's not forget, guys, a round 2 running back. We've been spoiled with Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson in the past, but round 2 running backs, like, a lot of times, those guys end up as the 101 in rookie drafts. Breece Hall was a round 2 pick, right? He was a 101 in rookie drafts, and right behind him was Ken Walker. So let's not forget how good a round 2 running back is for your, for Dynasty football. Emeka Egbuka, that was the guy I was really struggling between with Travion Henderson and Emeka Egbuka. I mean, that landing spot to the Rams, man. Any wide receiver that Sean McVay ever drafts, I don't care where he's ever coaching again or what quarterback he has. I don't care what city he's in or how old he is. If he drafts a wide receiver, yeah.
I mean, yeah, 100%. If he drafts a wide receiver, it's just going to be huge. All right, I'm on the clock here. I really wanted Mika and Buka. I've been trying to put myself in positions where I can not get a quarterback, and they just keep falling to me when it comes down to the value. I'm just trying to see if I can make an argument for anyone else over these quarterbacks.
Yeah, we'll take your time. I'm going to reply to the chat here. David says, y'all prefer Hampton or Caleb Johnson? I have them both in the same tier. It'll come down to draft capital and testing, but right now it's Hampton slightly, but I love both of them. As Shador Sanders comes off the board, did he go to your Giants?
Yeah, he went to the Giants.
Okay. Talk to us about that.
I mean, obviously linking up there with Malik Neighbors, getting a top 3 overall draft capital. I mean, look, I know a lot of people in the chat has been saying in a super flex league, quarterback shouldn't be going at the 107. They should be going higher. But I think this is kind of perfect for some of these quarterbacks with these landing spots that we see here so far. I don't think I can take, even in a half tight end, a 0.5 tight end premium, that I could take some of these tight ends or even these low end wide receiver or round 2 wide receivers over a quarterback. Yeah. Personally.
By the way, Austin says Brees was only the 101 because Pickett was the top quarterback picked 20. Well, I mean, don't forget, Drake London was the 8th overall pick. Garrett Wilson was the 10th overall pick. Chris Olave was the 11th overall pick. Jameson Williams went 12th overall. Jahan Dotson went 16th overall. Treylon Burks went 18th overall. So it's not like that class was struggling for talent. It just wasn't at the quarterback position. But I mean, you have eight wide receivers who went before pick 20 in that draft. So I hear you, but let's not forget again how damn good a round 2 running back is for dynasty football drafts. You know?
Yeah, looking back at that class, at the time, none of those landing spots were exciting.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like at the wide receiver position, you were just hoping that one of those, because none of those wide receiver had a quarterback. Yeah. Well, you said Jahan Dotson. You said,
Drake London had no one at quarterback yet.
No one at
Garrett
the
Wilson
time
with the Jets
had no one. Chris Olave had no one. Like, we were going in blind. All those guys technically had bad landing spots, but we knew the talent on those people.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely wasn't a great quarterback class, but let's not forget that the class wasn't bad overall. It just didn't have the quarterbacks. I mean, not that dissimilar to this class, but I think the running backs are far better in this class, and the quarterbacks are also superior to 2022. And 2022 brought us a lot of good foundational players. I think 2025 will bring us even more. So Jalen Royals goes in the first round. I love me some Jalen Royals. Y'all know that's my guy, but what I will say is that is a little early. Yeah, I do want him to be like a second round pick that we can get excited about drafting. I really don't want to see his ADP jump up there. He goes to the Saints in round 2. I love me some Jalen, but just encouraging you guys, because ADP, it does build up and it does play a part in where players are drafted. Ultimately, the NFL draft will have the biggest impact, but if you love a sleeper, try not to push him up the board too much. Tyler Warren went next, and if you remember, he was a 13th overall pick to the Dolphins. So, let's talk about it. Who's the best value in round 1? What do you guys think? I want to hear your opinions. Before we get to that, I want to catch up with the chat. Yeah, Charlie says Travis Hunter's a crazy wild card in the second round. I agree. Silas says the only way he plays both, he has to be cornerback and play part-time wide receiver. There'll be no situation he plays wide receiver and part-time cornerback. I can see that as a possibility. I still think it's going to come down to the team that drafts him and their intentions for him. But
yeah,
that's a good point, though. The thing is, no one thought he could do it in college. In fact, I don't know if you guys know this about Travis Hunter, but he originally was going to go to Florida State. All right, Travis Hunter was a very he was like the number 1 guy in his class by far. Like, out of high school, people were like, this guy is going to be insane. And he was going to go to Florida State. But Florida State said, you know what, Travis? It's not possible. You can't do that at this level. You can't do it at this level, Travis. And guess who swooped in? The guy who did exactly what he wanted to do in his career, right? And obviously, with Prime Sanders there, he goes to Jackson State, then transfers to Colorado. He says, you know what? One of these top recruits, top colleges in the nation told me I couldn't do it, and I did it. So I think that's his mindset again. I think his mindset again is like, you know what? I've heard this before. Now, I will agree with a lot of you guys. This is a different story going to the NFL, but
yeah,
it's tough to really, figure out, honestly. Again, catching up the chat. Liam says, do you worry about Caleb's production being heavily predicated on a top 3 O-line from the past year? My thing with that argument is I can actually spin that on its head quite easily, because if you guys know Iowa's offense, I mean, please look at Iowa's offense in the past 5 years. Iowa is not a program built on successful quarterback play. It is not a program built on its wide receivers. It is not a program built on flashy offense. It is a program built on defense, and that's pretty much it. Like, 2 years ago, if you had 15 points from Iowa in a game, you were like, whoa, their offense is really clicking. So my counter to that is what Caleb Johnson did for this offense, no one was able to do in like the past 5, 6, 7 years. He brought them out of the shadows into relevancy, and every single week, the other team knew exactly how to stop them, right? There's no Malik Neighbors trying to save the day for this team. There's no Jaden Daniels back there, right? There's no Drake May, Marvin Harrison. There's no Jeremiah Smith on this team. It's, you are exactly who we need to stop, and we're going to stop you, but they still couldn't do it every single week. So that would be my counter to it, for sure. Let's see. Trying to catch up with this. Rain says, if I'm getting offered Drake London and T for JJ, is that too short in value? Oh, I wanted it to be relevant to the draft, Rain. I mean, yeah, I probably would want more. All right. Let's get into the best value in round 1.
I agree.
So we've got a lot of people saying Warren here. 1, 2, 3. 3 people saying Jalen Warren was the best value in round 1. We've got a lot of people saying Ward or Sanders, Egbuka, Ward, good job me, Evie says. Caleb's a steal, Joe says. So we'd love to see that. Who do you think was the best value in round 1?
I think it's Warren. I mean, top 15 prospect. Goes at the 112. Goes to an offense where they could potentially lose Tyreek Hill. I mean, there's argument he could have gone over, the 2 people that went ahead of him. So I would go Warren. But Caleb Johnson is a nice one, though. I'm not going to lie. I know Joe Mixon has another year or 2 in his contract. Actually, 2 more years because he just signed.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what that out looks like. But if that out is not bad, it's not a huge cut, and you get a second-round running back, Caleb Johnson can take over, obviously in 25, but in 26, which would be huge.
Second round is great, and this isn't exactly like the Charbonnet situation, because when Charbonnet was drafted, you knew, wow, for his entire contract, Ken Walker will be there for his entire contract.
Yeah,
and that's not the case with an aging Joe Mixon. We don't feel that same conviction, I don't think. No. So I like that pick a lot as well.
Yeah, Joe Mixon, 29 years old. I just looked it up. Has a $2 million dead cap hit after the 2025 season. So, yeah, that feels exciting.
I agree. Hey, gang, do us a favor. Hit that like button to show some love. We are almost halfway to our goal, which is 115 likes. If we reach that goal, we will do a second mock draft with you guys. So be a friend, smash that like button, and let's get into round 2. There are still plenty of great options on the board. And, I'm excited to draft my next player here when I have a chance. As Judkins goes, he was round 3 to the Raiders. So he falls a little bit, I think probably because of that round 3 tag. Still a great player. I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of his ADP. But if he goes round 2, it'll be higher than this, obviously.
Yeah, people are loving it, especially mainstream media. I've been obviously listening to PFF, and they're brought up a really good point about Chip Kelly's historical offense and how he loves to run the ball.
Oh yeah.
And how they just kept saying, whoever goes to the Raiders, you got to get him in fantasy.
Yeah, he's gonna be a workhorse. He'll be carrying that offense. So I definitely agree with that thought process there. Matthew Golden went next, by the way. Matthew Golden was an early second-round pick to the Patriots. And I wasn't the biggest Jalen Polk guy last year. I did have Jalen McMillan over Jalen Polk. I didn't love how high Jalen Polk went. I definitely didn't love that he went over Lab McConkey. But this actually makes a ton of sense for the Patriots. Get Matthew Golden in round 2. He's potentially a guy who could go in round 1, probably round 2 if he was in last year's class. He's just reliable, man. He's reliable as it gets. Those hands are so consistent. And in round 1, they went and got a defensive lineman, so kind of trying to cover all of their areas. I wish they actually addressed offensive line in round 1, but Mason Graham's one hell of a prospect himself. Right after that, we had R.J. Harvey, and brought him on today's video. I'm a big fan of his game. I'm a sucker for guys who turn lemons into lemonade. RJ's one of those backs. He's one of those backs who's just constantly churning, making more with less, and he did that his entire career. Holds a ton of UCF records. Big fan of that pick right there. I'm on the clock. And
yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah. This is kind of the range I wanted Jackson Dart, or Jalen Royals to be, rather, is what I meant to say. A lot of fun wide receiver spots in round 2. But I do think I am going to end up in round 3 with a running back. And I have him ranked exactly where I have Quinshon Judkins ranked. And that's where I'm going to go. I'll take Cam Skattebo off the board. He goes round 3 to the Browns. So I believe he'd be the next, starter for this team. Nick Chubb looks like a shell of himself. Jerome Ford is a decent backup, but I think Cam actually fits this offense really well. You put Cam in round 2 or round 3 to the Browns, I could really see things taking off, especially because they kept most of their staff there in Cleveland. Round 3 hit rate's not too bad either, about 50%. So you actually have a better chance at a round 3 running back hitting than a round 2 wide receiver. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of that landing spot personally. Love the way they use the running backs in Cleveland, specifically that coaching staff, what they've shown us over the last couple of years.
100%. And that's where you want a running back to go in Cleveland. Obviously, Nick Chubb is kind of done. I love Jerome Ford. Just not.
They've ran the ball so well, so effectively in Kevin Stefanski's tenure. They just weren't able to last year. They couldn't possibly do it last year because they weren't in any games. And they didn't have a running back they could rely on. So Cam kind of fixes some of those issues that they had last year, I think. Let's see.
Thanks on the clock here. Let's see. He goes Dylan Sampson. And Dylan Sampson, if I'm not mistaken, goes to the Steelers in the 4th round.
Okay.
It's not a bad pick.
Not a bad pick, but there was still a couple guys with better historical hit rates available. But Dylan Sampson to the Steelers in round 4. I mean, if he hits, you won't think about it. But, it's probably, someone just taking a player that they like a little bit better, which is understandable. Yeah,
which is okay because the guy that I want is still available. He goes to the 3rd round, in the 3rd round. And I love the landing spot, and I'm kind of a sucker for these hybrid type of running backs. I put him in the James Cook type of mold. Can he be a 1st and 2nd down guy? But he can also be a pass catching guy, and then he ends up being the guy.
Sure.
That's Devin Neal. He goes to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
I just love this landing spot. No doubt about it.
I love me some Devin Neal, man. I still think he should have came out last year. You think about this class last year, I think he still would have been like a top 5 running back in last year's class if he came out. Now, he went back to college and, he didn't hurt his draft capital. I just don't think he helped it. And now he's 1 year older. So I think that's probably, it's not a benefit really to him at all. And this is my problem with the whole Ollie Gordon comparison. I don't want to bring it up too much, but people talk about how Ollie Gordon every week defenses were focused on stopping him and the rest of his offense wasn't really good around him. I mean, why are we not talking about that with Devin Neal? Let's actually look at some rushing comparisons here. Shout out to our guy Kyle, who has helped us kind of build this database that we've been showcasing in some different videos. And what I want to show you guys is Devin Neal in 2024. Okay. In fact, I'll show you Devin Neal in 2023. I'll show you Devin Neal in 2024. And then we'll have a look at Ollie Gordon this year. Okay. So both guys in the Big 12. All right. Both of these guys are in the Big 12. And both guys are on offenses. Guess what? Don't have receivers that you're really scared about. Don't have quarterbacks that really keep you up at night. Right? Every single week, both of these guys, the defense is game planning for them. But somehow we only talk about Ollie Gordon when we talk about his efficiency. Well, you know, the offensive line was bad. The offense wasn't good. And, you know, yes, that's true. But guess who was in a very similar situation? Devin Neal. Tell me how many Kansas Jayhawks have been drafted in the first 3 rounds of the past 5 years. Please tell me. Please tell me what Kansas Jayhawk is going to get drafted in the first 3 rounds this year. If it's not Devin Neal, it's nobody, right? He was still able to be efficient, still able to be explosive, still able to be a game changer. And that's kind of where that argument breaks down a little bit for me. But anyway, Ollie Gordon does come off the board next. I didn't want to spark any controversy, but...
Random question. Do you not support a Kansas football team, college football team?
Okay, so this is something that often time confuses people. So Kansas City is not technically, if you were going to a Chiefs game, you're not actually in Kansas. You're in Missouri, right? Because there's Kansas City, Missouri. There's Kansas City, Kansas. Now, when I was growing up, I was born into Washington fandom and Virginia Cavalier fandom. When I moved to Kansas City, I definitely preferred Missouri over Kansas, just because Kansas was always dominating. They were great at basketball, and you know, Missouri was kind of like this, I think, more fun school to support. But Missouri never really took roots in me the way Virginia did at college, and I think college as well. I also like Oregon because my grandma, literally at the age of 100, went to the Rose Bowl, and she's this big Oregon Duck supporter. In fact, my great grandfather was a former senator of Oregon, I believe, or if not senator, he was very high in. His name was Chuck Norris. If you can go back, his name was actually Chuck Norris. That's not a joke.
His name was Chuck Norris.
Yeah. So the reason I don't support Kansas is because, number one, I never lived in Kansas. Chiefs don't actually live in Kansas either. They are from Missouri. Kansas City is actually in Missouri, right? So
yeah,
hopefully that makes sense.
That I think confused me probably 10 times more, but sure, I'm happy.
What is confusing about it then?
Well, no, I was confused because my geological map of the United States of Kansas City, Missouri is non-existent. So I just know I know New York, California, Texas, and Florida.
There's a Kansas City, Kansas. There's a Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, let's go back, and that sounds stupid. Kansas City is in what state? Missouri?
It's in both. It's in Kansas and Missouri. However...
Right, okay. I get what you're saying. I understand that.
Yeah.
But you are from Kansas City, Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Say less.
And that is where the Chiefs are. I could drive to their stadium in 15 minutes. And Kansas City, Kansas is a different part of the world than Kansas City, Missouri, right? So if you're from Kansas City, Kansas, you're probably a Jayhawk supporter. If you're from Kansas City, Missouri, you're probably a Missouri supporter. Does that make sense?
Yes, I get that.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. In round 2, we just finished. I want to know who everyone's favorite value is in round 2.
Where did Higgins go?
Your aunt is in Smithville. That's hilarious. Literally, some of my best friends growing up lived in Smithville. I was there all the time. All right. Who is your best value in round 2? What do you guys think?
Higgins went to, just to keep everyone informed, because you guys know, Higgins went to the Washington
in round 2.
In the second round. Jack Besh went to the Cardinals in the second round as well. I'm not in love with that landing spot. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, not in love with it just because it feels like there's a cap ceiling of the outcome. You know, previously we had Jack Besh to the Packers, and I was losing my mind over that spot, thinking about what it could be. But love the draft capital. Just really feel like there's a capped outcome here with Marvin not even really able to shine, and McBride doing his thing. And It's
100%.
it's just not ideal, I don't think. But after that, Trey Harris, where did he go? Steelers, was it?
Trey Harris went to the Steelers. Ollie Gordon went to the Ravens, if I'm not mistaken, in the fourth
Round
or fifth
4.
round.
End of the round 4.
And
Yeah.
then where did Savion went?
Savion was a Bear, I believe, in round 3.
Yes.
Which,
So
you know,
round 3.
I wouldn't
That's
be
kinda
surprised in this scenario if they decided to use him out of the backfield more than as a wide
Sure.
receiver. You know, if the Bears were to select him there. All right, guys, let's see. Let's see exactly who is the best value. What do you guys think? One person saying Besh. Do we have any other Beshes here? So one person go with my boy Jack. We've got a lot of people saying Devin Neal. Devin Neal. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Drafted that guy.
So a lot of people love the Devin Neal pick. I love it too. Absolutely love it as well. We've got Serena Williams. Got to be Harris, Andrew says, as in Trey Harris. We got another person say Trey Harris. Oh, we had another Jack Besh, actually. Austin says, you fumbled the bag being a Commanders fan. I did for the first 29 years of my life. First 29 years of my life were hell, and now it's fun. Scattaboo. Someone says Scattaboo is the best value. Harris and Neal. DT says some of my best friends are black. That's awesome. Sizzle says, where did RJ go in this mock? He went round 3 to the Chargers. Yeah, I can see that. Scattaboo. Let's see. Neal. All right, awesome. Great to see. Great to see. So, what do you think, Badaki, as we get into round 3?
I actually really like the Jaden Higgins pick, personally.
Yeah, I did too.
I think you get a in the second round type of wide receiver going to an offense that needs somebody.
Oh yeah, desperately.
And obviously Terry gets extended, but he is older. So this would just be a perfect link up there. So
yeah, I'm a huge fan of that pick as well. That's kind of where I was going to lean right there with you. Just kind of feel like he's the perfect number 2. I actually wouldn't mind him as a big slot. I think if a team used him as a big slot, it'd be more beneficial than using him out wide.
how long does Terry have?
I think like 2 more years or something, but I bet they're going to extend him in this offseason. But yeah, I like that pick a lot as well. Appreciate y'all for being here. Update on our like goal, which is 115 likes. We're already at 72, so we're very close. In fact, quick math says 40 or so away. So be a friend, smash that like button. If we reach that like goal, we'll do a second mock draft with all you guys. A whole new group of people will be able to join. So let's get to that 115 goal. All right, let's get into round 3. Still a lot of great options available to us. I need to update my board here because I missed some of these picks. We had Jaden Higgins go. We had Jack Besh go. We had Trey Harris and Ollie Gordon. We had Savion Williams off the board. Right, trying to keep up. You took Devin Neal.
Yeah, Devin Neal's off as well.
Isaiah Bond comes off the board. Damn, Elijah Arroyo. I was also struggling with him at the 205. He was round 2.
He went to the Broncos.
To the Broncos. I really love that spot for Elijah Arroyo. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his game. Was hoping he might fall to me in round 3. But if Scattaboo and Neal weren't there, I was very heavily considering him. So I think someone got a very, very good deal with that.
Yeah. I like that landing spot.
All right.
Oh, well,
Milroe. What round was Milroe?
I think he was in the 3rd round. Give me a sec. I'll tell you right now. He was in the 4th round. Gosh. Went to the Browns.
Okay, 4th round to the Browns. I mean, the good news about that 3rd round pick is he is going to start at some point. Let's be honest. Like, Jalen Milroe's going to be forced into starting. Every quarterback on their roster starts pretty much every year at this point. So, can't hate on it too much. Giddens comes off the board. He went to the Saints in round 4. That might be my least favorite landing spot for a player. Not only does it make things confusing for Kendre Miller, but also obviously Alvin Kamara is there. It just, yeah, it would be that would be really confusing to try and digest that.
I agree.
All right, I am up here on the clock. And I do need to just view all my options here for a second. We got some round 2 wide receivers available. I'm just not a huge fan of where they are playing. Tough to paint a role for them that I get excited about. I mean, yeah, I think I know where I'm going to go, but let me just... Wow, there's actually quite a few picks I still like here. This could be a really strong draft, man.
I actually think it is. I think it's an underrated class. I think a lot of people came in with a lot of negative intention because of the 2024 class and how great that class was.
Yeah.
And there's still, like, right now, obviously this is some dream landing spots, but you can still get some good values in the 3rd round, just like we saw last year. It's not that deep, is what she said.
Hopefully not.
It's hopefully not what she said. But look, the fact that you can still get some good players in the middle of the 2nd round, is
there's
so good right
there's
now.
about 3 or 4 guys I really had my eye on, but Damian really spoke to me the most. He ended up going to the Bengals. This is round 4, so technically a round higher than Chase Brown when they drafted him. But I mean, I could totally see a situation where the Bengals are like, let's get a discount Monty Gibbs situation, right? Like everyone's trying to replicate that, but there's only one Monty Gibbs. But they in this world, I think they could really give Martinez a bunch of the early down work, which is really not something that they've been able to do. They really haven't been able to like establish the run much with their offense in the past year or so. But I love Martinez there. I keep telling people that he's discount Scatterboo in this class. I really think like the play style isn't that dissimilar. So I'm a big fan of grabbing him there. My once beloved Woody Marks, who I am now much lower on after watching more film, goes off the board. I do like him a lot. And he's just as worthy of a dart throw at this point as any other player. He goes round 4 as well, or round 5 to the Jags. You're on the clock here. There's quite a few good options available.
Yeah, just going through it here.
While you're looking at that, I'm just going to reply to some of the comment sections here. Scribble says, my only thing with Arroyo is I hadn't heard anyone talk about him before the Senior Bowl, and his production was non-existent. You know, for me, I can't speak for anyone else, but my process is I look at tight ends last. I'll typically scout running backs, wide receivers first, then I'll go quarterback, and then I scout tight ends. So even in version 1 of our rookie report, I only had 2 tight ends scouted, which was Loveland and Warren. And version 2 of our rookie report came out after the Senior Bowl. But here's what I'll say, and I say this every year. I focus less on production for tight ends. I don't think it's very sticky. I focus more on traits. And if you look at traits, I mean, Arroyo he's a traitsy guy, man. All this God-given stuff he has. But I actually think his production for a tight end is very respectful this year. I mean, especially when you consider he had a teammate like Xavier Restrepo who demanded targets at a very high level this year. So I actually do think it's pretty impressive what he was able to do. And if you're looking at his year before last year, he was injured, right? So you have to keep that in mind as well. He dealt with injuries, which really halted a breakout. You went Jackson Dart there.
Yeah, look, I know it's not like the ideal, but I think there's a situation we could talk up if you really think about it. They're saying they're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers. Are they going to draft a quarterback in this one? I know 3rd round capital for a quarterback is not the best.
Well, this is 2nd round.
I think it was the 2nd or 3rd? Second, okay. I know the hit rates for 2nd round is not the best. But once again, there is a world where he could be the starter this year.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
That picture is very easy to paint, so I can see
100%.
why you would make that pick. I'm not going to waste everyone's time talking about the hit rates, but I definitely hear you there.
Yeah.
People are loving him. I mean,
I every single day is like, I think there's 3 quarterbacks that could be QB1. It's like, wait, what?
What? Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we always say this, but there's just so many reasons to be in or out on any of the quarterbacks in this class, and Dart is one of those guys as well. Like if you gave me 6 reasons to be in and someone gave me 6 reasons to be out, which there are that many options out there, like it wouldn't surprise me at all. But the narrative that you're painting there makes a ton of sense, where Aaron Rodgers already moved on. You know, I mean, who else starts for this team? Do they start Tyrod Taylor the entire year? I don't know. Tez Johnson went next. He went to the Cowboys in round 3. I think he's a perfect complement to CeeDee Lamb. That's the guy I was really about to pull the trigger on with my pick. Harold Fannin Jr. Really loved that pick. He went round
to the Saints.
3 to the Saints. You know, I don't like the Saints either, but I think he would instantly be their number 2. You know, it depends on how long Derek Carr's there, because Derek Carr has this infatuation with Rashid Shaheed. But I think Harold Fannin could instantly be their number 2 long term with Olave there. You don't draft this guy to improve your run game. You draft him as a receiving threat, right? So yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It looks like Trevor Etienne, at the 310. So when you see that, Trevor Etienne, he went to the Vikings, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of low-key okay landing spot.
Yeah, no, it's a good landing spot. I just think he's one of those guys where, with all due respect, and I really liked his film coming out of Florida, and he was injured, so I have to keep that in mind. But if his last name is an Etienne,
who is he?
I'm not sure we're really talking about him. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
That's my only problem. I'm just not 100% sure we're really having a conversation about him if his last name isn't Etienne. I just don't see any elite traits, really. I don't see any elite traits on film. In fact, you could probably make a case that Ty Chandler's a better prospect, and that didn't work out. Just thinking about guys who are in that system right now. Look at Trevor Etienne in 2023. He was at Florida, averaged about 5.8 yards per carry. Never really demanded a backfield. You expect that in Georgia. He dealt with some injuries this year, right? But under 500 yards, 5 yards per carry, not bad. But it's in the SEC, just nothing really stood out. And the yards after contact were where I was really disappointed personally. But not a bad player by any means, but I just don't think he really stands out.
Yeah,
for me.
I get you. Brashad Smith goes at the 4-1.
Love that pick a lot. He went to the fourth round. To the Patriots, who, by the way, need a receiving threat. And if this happens and you own Ramondre Stevenson, sorry, because the value for Ramondre Stevenson is through the air. That's where he's had his good years, where he's been a receiving threat. You don't bring in Brashad Smith not to be the main receiving back. You just don't.
Yeah, makes sense.
Jay Knott was drafted, but just a heads up. Jay Knott is back at Cal, which I think we put in the rookie report.
I think so. I think he's in there if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's running backs to monitor. Where is players returning? Here. Did we put that there? Yes, we did. Yeah, Jay Knott. He went back to California. Going back to Cali. Wow. A second round wide receiver, 2 of them fall all the way to the 4th round. Restrepo and Ellick. Now, the reason they fell, like Badaki mentioned there, is because their landing spots were very confusing, right? Xavier Restrepo went to the Ravens. Ellick went to the Lions. It's hard to really paint a picture of their value increasing.
Yeah, it's tough. It's just. Thank you for your service.
Not ideal.
It's not even. There wasn't even service provided.
Yeah, for real.
That was just.
I am on the clock. There is another second round wide receiver available, but does he do more than what Jahan Dotson did this year in that offense? Probably not. How can you? It's one of the lowest passing volume offenses in the NFL with stars everywhere. I really liked the Brashard Smith pick. That's probably where I was leaning. I could go one of my favorite sleepers here. Just looking at all the options available. Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. You know, I'm going to grab Scootin' Tootin' here. I'll grab Bashul Tootin'. Talked about him in a video today. Look at what's the strength of this class, Badaki? Can you remind me? What's the strength of this class?
I'm sorry. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was looking for my pick.
That's classic. Strength of this class is running back. Look, I've got 4 running backs in this class, but Tootin goes to the Panthers here. And we've already seen reports, at least I have, and I would expect that to be the case, that we don't get any Jonathan Brooks in 2025. It's just probably not going to happen. Now, Miles Sanders is dust. Raheem Blackshear, fun story, not a great player. Bashul Tootin can actually come in and make an impact for this team pretty much from day one. You know, you can get that 30% opportunity, that Ray Davis role, if you will, and if an injury were to occur, I think you could step in and produce for an offense. By the way, the offensive line really improved this last couple of years in Carolina.
Love it. Let's see what else.
Gibson is technically the receiving back, but there is no one in that organization that signed Gibson that is still there. Like, it's complete turnover. Nobody who signed Antonio Gibson is still on that payroll. And I didn't see anything from Antonio Gibson this year to tell me he's a serious contributor to a roster anymore. As a punt returner, sure, but you know, what is his contract? I think it's like something very mediocre. Was it 3 years, $11 million? Yeah, so I mean, a guy who's making $3.5 million a year is probably not going to stop a Brashard Smith from breaking out if he's that good, you know.
Have we thought of... Sorry, this is so random. I got to make a pick here. Who I really want is Jalen Noel, even though I know it's a terrible landing spot. So
yeah,
I'll take Jalen Noel here.
Okay.
Have we thought of the possibilities of New England taking Ashton at 4? The only reason why I say that is because of the head coach that came in, which is, I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
To save my life right now. I don't know why. But which
I can literally see it for some reason.
I can see it too. Why can't I think of his name?
Titans' old head coach, Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. Perfect. Have we thought about Ashton Jeanty going to the Patriots and how he used to love to run the ball with Derrick Henry, and how that was the engine of that offense? And
yeah,
have we painted that picture at all? Like, I think that
no, but the only reason it would be tough is because their roster is probably the worst roster in the NFL. So it'd be tough to spend it on a running back that early, especially when round 2 they could maybe Hampton's there, or Caleb Johnson, or Judkins in round 3. You know, but it's certainly a possibility. I think the NFL community would melt down if that pick was made.
Oh my gosh, I think everyone would. But yeah. What's the Patriots salary cap? I mean, they could get pieces over
they have
cap.
A ton of cap. But I would be shocked if they don't go lineman, or I think it's a lineman, or it's Travis Hunter. Like, if Travis Hunter's there, I think that's the pick, or it's like a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman. I think it's one of those 3. I would honestly be shocked if it's something else. They're just so bad everywhere.
No, I get it. The only reason why I'm even bringing it up is because, look, guys, we've seen this. Like, a lot of people say, like, they need other positions. But, I mean...
Trading back, Jesse mentioned, the trading back would actually make a lot of sense. They'd trade back with the Bears or something to pick 10. I don't know.
For someone that really wants Travis Hunter.
Right. Or, you know, let's say someone wants to jump the Raiders to get Shedeur Sanders if he falls.
A quarterback or something. Yeah, sure.
Like the Jets, they trade back with the Jets or something. So you can definitely paint the world that, you know, you could see it happening in, but I mean, you'd probably put running back at like 10th on their running back positions of need, you know. So it would be a luxury pick, and I think imagine the podcast after that from everyone, all the comments that people would make. It would.
The Patriots actually have the most salary cap in the NFL, which means they can go out and get studs in the positions that they need, hypothetically, and just get a stud at running back. Anyways, that's a cool little picture to paint.
The fantasy world wants it to be Tevin Millen. That's what the fantasy world wants, but I'm not seeing that very often anymore.
I just think we all know how that works out. I mean, no one was expecting the Lions to draft Jahmyr Gibbs, and we were like, don't they need other things? Don't they need defensive players? Because I think the Lions coming in that year needed defensive players, and they go out and draft Jahmyr. They trade up for Jahmyr Gibbs. No, they trade back.
They traded back. They traded back. Yeah, a couple.
They traded back for Jahmyr Gibbs. Anyways,
and they said they would have taken him ahead of Bijan, which, you know, their draft pick was ahead of Bijan's. Yeah, look, not impossible, right? I mean, I think people have to keep in mind that this class as a whole. Don't take our word for it, but go listen to literally any NFL draft analyst out there. This class as a whole, outside of like the first 10 picks, I'm hearing plenty of people say, Badaki, that pick 11 might not be that different on people's big boards than pick 40. That's the nature of this class. Like, the value you could get with pick 33 and 34 rather than pick 11 in the first round is greater in most people's minds, right? When they're making their big board, they have this tier of like 5 players maybe or 10 players, and then it's like this second tier, it's like 60 players long, right? So it's a deep class, but there are not many blue chips. There's not many blue chips in this class. Genty is one of those few blue chips, for sure.
You know, that's kind of why. Like, why would you not take a blue chip player, even though other things are needed in a class that you're just going to get? Like, I think every NFL team, not every NFL team, but I would imagine a lot of NFL GMs will say, I can get a blue chip player or 3 players of need that we need in our team. I think they would.
I think the reason they probably don't do it is because it's not going to really move the needle for them as like a long-term value. You know, like if they hit on a tackle there or a defensive lineman and they have that 5th-year option, I think that's going to make a bigger impact to their roster long-term. Sure. But the world you brought up where like they trade back, that would be maybe where it could logistically be possible. But yeah, when they know how the other thing that maybe even goes against Genty, which, like, you and I don't think he gets out of the first 12 picks past Dallas, but you also have to know that. Okay, so we are all people. I mean, you and I spend way too much time, Badaki, with our lives researching this class. Now, think about a real NFL scout. Think about a real NFL building with a GM. They know very well the strengths of this class. They know how good the running backs are in this class, which could be a disadvantage for a guy like Genty. Like, the Cowboys at pick 12 could tell themselves, we love Genty, but we got 10 guys we love in round 2 and 3 as well that we think can start for us, right? Mm-hmm. It's like it's a possibility he does fall. I know everyone's like, no, he's not getting out of the top 10 picks. I agree with that sentiment, but would it be crazy if a team's like, hey, there's a tackle, there's a defensive lineman here that could actually change the trajectory of our team, and there's 4 running backs we think could start for us in the next round. So, yeah, anyway, it's an interesting conversation. And I really think this is a class where no one really has their pulse on exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I completely agree. I think it's an exciting class. Expect the unexpected. Hell, maybe the Giants get Ashton Genty and pull a Saquon Barkley all over again.
Well, maybe. Probably not. But maybe. I mean, I could see no quarterbacks going in round 1. I could see 2. I could see 3 running backs in round 1. I could see 1. it's very, very up in the board.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was a very fun exercise. We did not reach our like goal, which is totally okay. I really enjoyed our time. I really enjoyed being here with you guys. But let's do a Q&A here, shall we? Let's do a 5-minute Q&A before we get to team reviews, because that is the next thing on our docket here. So why don't we do a little Q&A here? Again, 5 minutes on the Q&A. Nothing too long. Just want to answer some questions here. We will get to these team reviews here very promptly. In fact, let's start off with a trade question we already had on the website from Jay Ferry. And, this is in relation to the video I released last week, which was a sell high video. And I talked about how, I love Saquon Barkley. If you're a contender, you don't need to sell him. But pretty much any other roster, if you can move him right now, I think you'll benefit from it long term. Like, there's never been a running back to repeat as a 2,000-yard rusher. It's never happened. He already was a league winner, one of the best running backs in fantasy football, and he's still the RB3 overall. It's just the nature of Dynasty, right? And one of the things I said is, man, I doubt it's possible. But if you can go out there and get the 101 for Saquon Barkley, I even said I'd add something to it. Like, I'd send Saquon in like a second to get this done,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got an Ashton Genty. You have a Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs level prospect who we know is going in round 1. And the round 1 hit rate, by the way, I want you guys to think about this for a second. The round 1 hit rate on a running back is 86%. It is by far the safest bet you can make. You add on to the fact that we actually love the guy who's going round 1 and, Ashton Genty. But I want to go even further, all right? Because, this is showcased in our rookie report. But I'll show you guys the ugly version of it here. We have 2 hit rates, star status and superstar status, all right? For a star hit rate, it has to be a top 12 points per game season for a quarterback tight end or a top 24 points per game season for a running back wide receiver. The star status goes even further, top 6 on quarterback tight end or top 12 for running back wide receiver. I want you guys to notice something when you switch between these 2 hit rates, okay? So you notice with the star status, Badaki, man, that round 1 looks just relatively good across the board. I mean, look at that. There's mostly greens, some dark greens, some light greens. I mean, even round 2 for the running back shoots is a green in there, right? You go to the superstar hit rate. These guys who are really like these untouchables, these guys who turn into these untouchables. And my goodness, there's barely a drop off at round 1 running back from 86% to about 79%. 79% round 1 running backs in the last 11 years have a top 12 points per game season. I mean, it is by far not only the safest pick you can make, but it is also the most likely outcome to grab an untouchable name like a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Bijan Robinson, right? To have one of these pillar assets is going round 1 running back. So the fact that we know, I would bet my entire savings on it, that Ashton Genty is going to be a first round
New
pick.
England Patriot.
No, but he's going to go first round. We know how historically reliable that is. In fact, if you go back, like the names who fucked this up, and it wasn't 100%, sorry, is like Sony Michel, who was a late first round pick. Rashard Penny, who got injured, right? So it's like, I know people don't want to trade Saquon. I don't want to either if I'm contending, but do you think if Ashton Genty has a Bijan Robinson rookie season, which was disappointing compared to people's projections, right?
Yeah.
If he comes out there and has a Bijan Robinson rookie season or a Jahmyr Gibbs rookie season, do you think next year you could trade Saquon Barkley for Ashton Genty? I don't think so.
No. Not
I don't
Saquon
think so.
Barkley of this value, no. You wouldn't be able to. Because a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't know about Bijan." But anyways, I agree. It's just like it's a guaranteed reset button. Is basically what
as guaranteed as it can
understand.
get.
Yeah, a guaranteed reset button with age. And you could potentially be getting the next Saquon Barkley with the 101 and still be competing for the next 4 to 6 years instead of competing for the next 2 to 3 years with Saquon Barkley's lifespan.
Yeah.
For fantasy. So I think it's a great move.
Yeah, I don't mind which way you lean. You know, if you're like, you know what, I just wanna win again. I get it, right? Because Saquon, we're all gonna prefer him this year if we're doing a 1-year league. But, you know, I think that could very easily fall apart, and you could be like, damn, I could have had the next Bijan or Gibbs, and now I'm stuck with CMC who fell off. You know, so I mean, because don't get it confused. People were asking similar questions with CMC last year, right? So anyway, yeah, I would go the 101 there. I would rather have the 101. All right, we did say we'd do a quick Q&A before we transition to team reviews. So let's answer 5 questions here, okay?
5 questions only.
Alex says, have you heard of Efton Chisholm from Eastern Washington? He broke Cooper Kupp's reception record this season. He's my sleeper of the class. He shined at the Shrine Bowl. Yes, I have. In fact, he is actually on our rookie report, but he is just in that category of like players to monitor right now because full transparency, if I gave you a rookie report right now and I actually told you what I thought about his film, I'd probably be lying or I'd probably work for Eastern Washington, right? Because you can't find all 22 film on Eastern Washington right now. If you can, please give me your hookup. But yeah, he's on like that players to monitor page right now for us. Where players to monitor, here it is. So that he's like right on the top of that list for wide receivers. Guys that I'm monitoring right now. But no, I haven't been able to scout him yet. Just purely because I don't know how you're supposed to scout him, right? I mean, you can't really watch the guy's film at the moment, but it is a little bit concerning that his best season before his 5th year was under 1,000 yards at Eastern Washington, right? That's a little concerning, but the production was, you know, of course, impressive. You can't say the production wasn't impressive there. Definitely a name to monitor.
That's cool. Good old Efton Chisholm, the third.
Yes. So we will definitely keep our pulse on him for sure. That was question 1 out of 5. Is there one you want to go to here?
No, I can continue.
Just trying to at random try and pick people here. Let's see. Donovan says, what are you doing with Jonathan Brooks? Would you trade him for Etienne straight up? Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would. 100%.
Here's the reality with Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks is in such a shit situation. I almost don't even care that he was drafted in round 2. Why? Because number 1, when he was drafted in round 2, Chuba Hubbard was a nobody. Chuba Hubbard is not a nobody anymore. He's one of the most productive running backs in the league last year, and he got extended. So now Chuba Hubbard is there for the entirety of Jonathan Brooks' contract. And Chuba Hubbard might be better than him, right? So if Jonathan Brooks comes back, you might have the backup to Chuba Hubbard. You know, that might be the best you get there. Whereas Travis Etienne could still, like... And by the way, no matter what happens this year, Jonathan Brooks isn't improving his value. There's nothing that could happen this year. He's not going to play. He won't see the field.
He's not going to play. He's not.
So Etienne at least has a chance to reestablish himself, you know?
I completely agree. I think whatever you can get for Jonathan Brooks, I think is probably the best thing you can possibly do for yourself. Getting seconds. I personally don't think anyone can get a second for Jonathan Brooks. I think you can get thirds or do swapsies.
Yeah.
Essentially for some of these players. It's you just got to get any sort of value that you potentially get.
Yeah. You know, this is kind of a freak accident. You know, no one could have seen him re-injuring the same. Like, think about how rare that is. That doesn't happen often. And but you and I have been telling people, if you can get a second, grab it. But if you can only get a third, you might as well hold for Jonathan Brooks. And in this scenario, Travis Etienne is probably worth a late second. So I'm fine to go out and just make that trade. Appreciate you, Donovan.
Yeah.
Brooks, yeah, definitely did not have the right medical staff with him, did he? All right, that was question 2 out of 5. Wow, we just got a super chat from Jesse, so let's answer that one straight away. He says, what is Wando Robinson's value in a 16-man one quarterback? I guess the second part of my question, first question I would have rather, is how big are your starting lineups?
Exactly.
Because if you're in like a start 7 16-man league, he probably doesn't have a ton of value. But even if you bump that to like start 8 or start 9, he's a flexible name in that format. I mean, Rashad Bateman means something in a 16-man league. But if it's like a start 10, like, yeah, he's got value. Of course. You know? I mean...
Yeah, it just depends on how deep that lineup is. And I think in a 16-man league, I would imagine... I don't know. I just would imagine it wouldn't be that deep of a lineup there. But
I mean, if you think about it, right? Let's just like think about it logistically. In a 16-man league, if it's a start 10, for example, he says it's a start 8.
All right. Okay. Well,
Okay, so in a start 8, just thinking about this from like a startup perspective. If you think about it from like a, if you think about it as if it was like a 12-man league, think about it. In the first 12 rounds, all those players are probably starters. Think about it. You very rarely find like a reliable starter in round 12 of a 12-man startup draft. But there's 128 starters in a 16-man start 8 league. So, yeah, Wan'Dale has some value. Like, probably the best you could get is you attach a third to Wan'Dale to get a second. That's probably your best case outcome if you're trying to trade him. Right? You package the 305 and Wan'Dale for the 206 in that format.
Wan'Dale Robinson is going to gain value. You know why? Because we're getting the quarterback. Not jokes. I can't guarantee that, Jesse, so don't take my word on that. I'm just hoping as a...
Right now, the only thing that, you know, Wan'Dale has going for him is the fact that CeeDee Lamb loves him. All right. CeeDee Lamb talks him up all the time.
I mean, Wan'Dale was a dog this year, and then he had no quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, from the perspective of catching a ball and not doing anything with it, he was maybe the best at that. Like, just catching it and then
actually getting open.
Getting open and then doing nothing after that, you know. The problem is, if you're 6 foot, 210 pounds, and you do that, great. Not great if you're 5'9", 180 or whatever he is. All right, that was we won't count that because that was a paid question from Jesse. So question 3 out of 5 here. David says try to trade Achane for the 101. Yeah, that's possible. 100%. I would definitely be happy with the 101 over Achane, right? Yeah, and that doesn't mean Achane can't be the RB1 because he could finish RB1 overall if he stays healthy and 2 is healthy. But yeah, I definitely would prefer the 101. Let's see. That was 3 out of 5. Let's go to Mostly, who says, got the 105. Should I trade down for Sanders or take him at the 105? Yeah. What I would rather do is try and spin that 105 on like a Michael Penix. Or even get like JJ McCarthy plus. You know, or like a Baker Mayfield plus. That's the route I would rather take. Now, I know not everybody agrees with that. Brock Purdy plus, you know, if you want to stay young instead of Baker Mayfield. But I'd rather go that route personally because I feel like I know a little bit more about what I'm getting. I guess with JJ, we don't. But in my opinion, I could be wrong here, Badaki, but if you put JJ in this year's class and we know he's going to the Vikings, I mean, he's the quarterback one for most people, I think.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I think you can trade back. Like if you couldn't get those quarterbacks, I think you can probably trade back to the 107, get an extra second or some more value, pick swap later, another player, and get Sanders if you really wanted to, if you really do have the conviction that he is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Do 107, but you know you league the best, so it just depends on what's going to happen.
Yeah. Kyle here had a question. We'll make this 4 out of 5. He says, can you see a world where Jackson Dart moves into the late first by getting really high draft capital? I mean, for rookie drafts. Well, yeah, I think if he ends up going in the first, he'll probably be a first-round pick in rookie drafts.
Yeah, I think it depends on the landing spot and if he's a first round. Like if the Rams take him and there's like these question marks around Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
still going into the NFL draft, people will definitely be taking him.
Yeah.
But I think it just depends on that landing spot. Or the Colts. The Colts take him at 14.
It's certainly
That's
a
like-
possibility, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, none of these guys, in my opinion, are going to be drafted as high as they'll be drafted because of their talent. It's just because if you hit on that position, it's the most important position, and it's clearly the biggest need for a lot of these teams. But yeah, I certainly see it as a possibility. I think what would also have to happen is like a lot of the, like, for example, the Saints trade up for Jackson Dart, pick 30. But you still have 4 running backs in round 2. Probably might not sneak into the first, right? People probably still prefer those running backs. You'd have to have a combination of him getting into round 1, as well as running backs not going as high as we thought they would with draft capital, or wide receivers falling off or something, you know?
Yeah. There is scenarios for sure. It just depends. Like, Steelers can be a team that can take him in the first. They need a quarterback.
Yeah.
The Seattle can take him in the first. They need a quarterback, right?
Yeah, Seattle's another good one.
There's like Zach said, New Orleans trading up, so into the first.
Yeah, or like the Browns if they don't want to go pick 2.
Yeah. Or
Trading up.
even the Titans trading up.
Yeah.
From the second round and seeing if they can get a Jackson Dart in the end of the
Imagine
first. Like,
the Titans get him with the first pick in round 2, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, this is what happened with Will Levis." No one's gonna be able to unsee the comp.
100%.
Not as a player, but anyway.
I get what you're saying.
That was question 4 out of 5, but we did get a super chat here from Michael, so I just want to give him some love. He says, "Hi guys, thanks for all the insight, content, and passion. Diving deep into Dynasty this offseason. Keep up the great work, guys." I appreciate you big time, Michael.
Yeah, that's love.
That's very kind of you to say. Very kind, and we appreciate you guys. I mean, everybody who supports us on the Flock site, who's a yearly member or gets a team review, you guys are really the reason we're even able to do this. Right, even the reason we're able to have this type of life where we talk football. So
100%.
the support is always very much appreciated. Last one. I'm gonna let you pick the last one.
Okay, let's see.
Before we go to team reviews, the stream's not ending, but we're just gonna switch to team reviews.
All right, let's have a look here. Let's see what we got here. Let's just go with Charlie.
Okay.
Charlie's is always in here. He says just got this offer a couple minutes ago, 110 for Anthony Richardson in I'm assuming a 2025 second. It's a 2022.
Yeah, 110
says-
for A-Rich in a second, right? He went back to the future.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
I mean,
26.
I think it's whether it's 25 or 26.
matter, but yeah.
It doesn't matter. I think for me, I'm happy to take the 110 personally. I don't think Anthony Richardson is the answer. I think there's a lot of pieces around him. I think he has to come back and do a lot to be of that value.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're like trading A-Rich is tough because there is still this possibility that year 3 is what he needed to break out. Like, really, the pressure will be on him, and we all know what the problem is. And if he hasn't addressed it in the offseason, it'll be obvious in the first 3 weeks. But there's like this 10% chance that he just comes out and it's like, holy shit, he figured it out, and then his value would skyrocket. But the chances of that happening are very slim, like 10% slim. It happened to Josh Allen. His first 2 years weren't great, probably better than A-Rich's were. But that year 3, he really, really took off. But so just with that being a possibility, I'd probably try and add a third to my side. Just a little more comfortability with that. The 110 and a third for A-Rich in a second. Try and add that pick swap. But overall, I think the 110 is probably more value here. I would agree with you pretty much overall.
Yeah, I mean, like we're think of the 110 in the super flex. Like you actually could get another quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. You actually you might get Sanders Award.
You could go there. You can get Emeka Ibuka. We've seen full. You can get another running back. You can get one of the tight ends in Coast Loveland or Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your conviction on some of these other players as well at what you're getting at the 110 over Anthony Richardson. But
yeah, overall, I do feel comfortable with that 110, but you just have to recognize that, of course, there is risk. There's risk both sides. There's risk in holding him, right? I mean, if you hold him and he's Justin Fields, you would dream of a first-round pick in any year.
Yeah.
Right? And if you trade him away and he's Josh Allen, this is the nature of Dynasty, right? We appreciate y'all for being here with us. We are going to get into some team reviews now. I actually just noticed we got a super message on the site, which is awesome. So over on the Flock Fantasy site, we got a super message. So let's answer that just before transition. Shout out to SG3. Appreciate the donation. He says, drop league a week after starter draft trade. So I'm guessing he's saying like they just drafted.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Trade JJ a third and a second for the 105 in Kittle. Commissioner created veto rule of 5K above KTC value. Thoughts? So I guess the trade, basically what they're saying, I'll pull up KTC to try and really understand this. We don't really like KTC that much, but he's saying Jefferson looks like was sold for Kittle and the 105, and it looks like they also sent a third and a second with JJ.
Yeah, he said the veto rule is 5K above KTC's value.
Let's just say it's a mid third and a mid second in 2026. I don't think it really matters that much. Okay. That's probably the cheapest I've ever seen someone buy Justin Jefferson for, is what I'll say. If I saw that deal go down in my league, I'd be pretty upset. You know? I'd be upset because I wasn't the person who screwed over the guy who has Justin Jefferson. That's why I'd be upset. I'd be like, I wish I was that guy. I wish I just got Justin Jefferson for the cheapest I've ever seen. You know? Yeah, I mean, love George Kittle, but he is 31 and a half, be 32 this year. There is an expiry date at some point, right? Now, I mean, we could be living in this world with someone just asked, is it the right JJ? Is it Josh Jacobs?
Well, Jacobs, JJ McCarthy, those are the two ones that I thought of.
Oh wow, yeah, I guess JJ McCarthy it could be too.
Well, he's saying
I feel like if you say JJ, I feel like you're saying JJ, you're assuming it is Jefferson though.
But he said commissioner. Yeah, he said commissioner created veto rule of 5K above KTC's value.
Which he only would say that if it was Jefferson, right?
That's what I'm saying. Because if you put JJ or Josh Jacobs, well, JJ McCarthy or Josh Jacobs, 5,000, like 9,000 to 16,000 is more than 5,000.
Yeah. So I mean, the Jefferson side wins by a landslide, right?
Yeah, no question.
It's actually relatively uneven. Very, very uneven, I'd say. I'm gonna, yeah, let's see. Okay, yes. Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna say vetoable, because if the guy knows what he's doing and he didn't, like, I would, as a commish, maybe just be like, hey, like, you know what you were doing, right? Just want to make sure. Not trying to be disrespectful, but you know, was there any like, I just want to help this guy out, or do you actually like this trade? And you try and say it in a way that's not disrespectful, but yeah, I mean, if you put that trade in on the KTC or on Flock's site with expert consensus rankings, it says they're robbing you, which is very accurate. That's a very accurate way to describe what's happening here. I mean, if you use my rankings alone, I bet it would say something very similar. Yeah, they're robbing you. So it's the definition of getting robbed. Is it vetoable? I think it depends on intent. That's the only reason I've ever vetoed something. I think I've vetoed 2 trades in my lifetime as a commissioner of over like 7 years. 8 years. I don't remember. And it's only ever been collusion. It's never been someone who's just made a stupid trade.
Yeah. Well,
it was Jefferson Silas. Is this you? Is this you, SG3? This must be him because Silas Green must be him. He says it was Jefferson.
That might be Silas. But I feel like Silas' name wasn't SG3 last time we did his team review.
He might have changed his team name though.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. That team is now an orphan. Ferris, are you in this league? Or are you just having fun?
Nah, he's talking about the other comment. He said a guy traded.
It is Silas.
Yeah, okay. He was talking about how a guy traded Sam Howell for Joe Burrow and they didn't veto the trade 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've had... It sounds like it's a league with friends and someone probably didn't really understand how to trade Justin Jefferson. And that doesn't make it vetoable. Right? It makes it vetoable if he's like, I was going to leave the league and I wanted to help my buddy. Because that's happened in one of our home leagues before. Where someone that we loved, who was a friend, was like, I was going to leave the league. I just wanted to help my buddy out. Like, that is vetoable. But not if they're going to stay in the league and they just made a dumb trade, you know?
I feel like those people, like, those type of fantasy players only love, like, the old people. Like, oh, dude, I love Keenan Allen. I'm going to draft Keenan Allen.
Those are the names they know.
Yeah, you know, I love Mike Evans. I'm going to draft Mike Evans in the first.
Yeah, George Kittle? What? George Kittle's been so good.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's been amazing. Like, okay, let's relax.
But look, if your commissioner, if he actually has like a document that says, hey, anything that's over 5,000 is going to get vetoed, then fair enough. What can you do? If that is a rule that you set up and everyone's agreed to it and they're in the league, is what it is, right? So
yeah,
obviously context is important there, but yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for submitting that super message over on the Flock site. And the great news about when you guys submit like a trade question or a super message or anything on the Flock site is YouTube takes 30% of your super chat away from us, just so you guys know that. Whereas that's obviously not the case here on Flock. We don't, you know, so if you're actually wanting to support us and ask a question, the Flock site is the best way to do that. And, you know, you can actually sign up for a free account if you want some of those free features just by going to flockfantasy.com/land, signing up with the code LAND. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Let's go ahead and transition this to some team reviews. He says it was created after that trade. He made it up after seeing the trade. Well, yeah, no. If it was made up after, then that should be to prevent things like that happening in the future.
Yeah.
You can't just make it up as you go and tell people, hey, this just happened, so surprise, I'm making this rule up. That doesn't work like that. You know, you don't get to do that. That's terrible commissioning. You should have had a document created. You know? So, if it was in the bylaws, great.
Bylaws.
No, you can't just be like, oh, I'm making this rule now. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. Especially if it's a paid. You know, if it's like a paid league.
Yeah,
no way.
It's paid league, I get that.
Okay. I do have a lozenge in my throat. I'm sorry if that's going to annoy anyone. But we're grinding. I'm not feeling well, but I'm grinding. All right, we're going to get to some team reviews, okay? There's a couple ways that you can get your team reviewed. The first way is by becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAN. We are doing a whole new rebranding, guys, and I cannot wait for you guys to see that next week. It's going to look hot. Badaki's been working his ass off to get everything over the line. But if you do want to become a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAN, not only are you going to support Badaki and myself, you're going to keep us going, you're going to keep letting us do this content and doing these streams and talking shop, but you also get our 2025 rookie report, which is already up on the Flock Fantasy website. Let me show you. All right, you'll get our rookie report, which you can see here in recent posts, our 2024 rookie report, right, which is, I believe, by far the best in the industry. I'm so proud of what we've done. I don't think there's ever been something like this in the industry. But my rookie big board has my rankings for super flex and one quarterback. You can go back to the table of contents. You can go look at quarterback profiles. You want to know what I think of Shador? You want to know what I think of Cam? Go back. Now you want to look at the wide receivers. You want to see my opinion on Luther Burden? All right. Well, you want to see the All Limits Lemonade team? Fantastic. Right? Players returning to school for all of our Debbie people. Historical hit rates. Right? Our rookie report is by far the best in the industry, in my opinion, my humble opinion. Of course, I'm biased, but I'm very proud of what we've been able to make. So you get the rookie report, but you also get a team playbook, right? Which is a customized game plan for your offseason. You get the review, you get the playbook, and it's just an incredible way for you to support us and for you to get a ton of value in return. So you get all that, you get free trade question voucher, you get our complete rankings, all the premium tools and databases on the website. Now, the other way to get your team reviewed is by just purchasing one through the Flock store. And I'll put that link in the chat for you here right now. All right. And the Flock store is going to take you to a site that looks like this. All right. What you would do is you would click on team review, link up your team. If you haven't done it, you can do it through Sleeper, ESPN, Yahoo. If you have an MFL league, you can leave your league ID and just upload the settings and screenshots. But obviously, you select your team. You make sure your draft picks are correct. If not, you can change that. Then you'll obviously choose Zach and Badaki from Fantasyland. The baseline is an offline review. It's just $10 more to get it reviewed live. And that's really only so we can prioritize you, right? Okay, should we get to our first review?
Let's do what we do, and let's do it best here. Brad from McKinney. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being patient. We're going to review your team right here. So if you are with us, let us know. If not, that's okay. You're going to be watching this a little bit later. Let's read this context here. He says, league is starting its 4th year. All newbies. Converted to Superflex this year. Very quiet league. In the most, I'm the most aggressive. Back end of a rebuild. Planned on getting running backs, with picks this year. Any other moves you can recommend? All right, and your team name is Olive Garden, and it looks like you're currently ranked 4th out of 12. Once again, you did convert this to Superflex, so it's a 2 quarterback, 12 team start 9, which is your meat and potatoes essentially. 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 flex spots here. Let's have a look at your team. At the quarterback position, Bo Nix, Justin Herbert with Derek Carr, and yeah, I mean, I think this is a great quarterback room, having Bo Nix, Justin Herbert, and having like a QB3. Look, it's not the best QB3 you can have, but it's still, you have somebody, which is exciting, or good. At the running back position, Chuba Hubbard, and then honestly, no one else after this. But what's great about that is that I see that you have 2 2025 first-round picks. So we'll get to that a little bit later. At the wide receiver position, remember, you can start up to 4 wide receivers in the meat and potatoes. Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson with Chris Olave in the wings, Troy Franklin, the list goes on.
That's with where the bulk of this rebuild's probably been focused.
100% with TJ Hawkinson here. So, so far what you have is great, and the needs that you have, or the needs that you need, you have the answers to in this 2025 picks as well, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree.
Apparently, people are hearing static from me, potentially.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I'm sorry in advance.
Let me go ahead and reset our mics entirely. Let's see here. Okay, how about now? Can you talk for us, Badaki?
Hello, hello, hello.
Does he sound okay, gang? How are we feeling?
Yeah, I sound better. I can hear it now. Appreciate that, and I'm sorry for Bradley, because he's most likely going to be watching that back and hearing the static. But I'm glad we got that out the way early. So appreciate you.
So let's think through the starting lineup, right? In a start 9. Right now it's Nix, Herbert, Chuba, whoever you draft at the 103, Jefferson, Marvin, Hawkinson, and then you can only start 2 more names. So that would be maybe JSN Wilson or JSN Olave. So, I mean, you're no longer in a rebuild, I don't think. I think now you switch to become a sleeper, right?
Yeah, I think
you can see the pathways here on the left side of your screen. It's kind of like a timeline. Maybe we can make something that is looking like our new branding as well, by the way. Just thinking about this as we're about to launch that next week. But it's kind of, you know, a lifeline, if you will, like a season. You know, you go from fall, winter, spring, summer. You know, winter being the rebuild, if you will. You're kind of almost in your spring season, your white girl summer, or whatever it is.
Your white girl summer.
Is that the right terminology? That's what they say, right?
I think it's hot girl summer.
Hot girl summer, yeah. You're in your hot girl summer almost. So I think you're a sleeper team now, right? You're kind of playing with a little bit of house money this year. And, you know, I think you would be a contender as long as those picks actually hit that you have. So I think you're in actually a very good position. White girl summer is actually hilarious the more I think about it. But yeah, let's think through it. Again. Like that starting lineup's pretty good. You have 2 firsts this year. You have your picks in the future seasons. Don't care for the 4th rounders really. You know, draft capital grade. It's not really like life changing. I'd say a B flat. But your overall team, I'd more put B plus range. And you're not far off an A if these first round picks hit.
I agree.
As far as your untouchables, Justin Jefferson really is the only one. Yeah, there really isn't another untouchable. I mean, Marvin could become that, right? JSN or Wilson could become that. Nick certainly could. But right now it's just Jefferson. Your holds. You know, I think Tank Bigsby is becoming a great hold just simply because we don't really know what they're going to do at running back there in Jacksonville. It's a whole new coaching staff. I like the idea of just holding him. You can't get a 2nd rounder for him, so you might as well just hold him.
Yeah, I hear you.
Malik Washington, I love as a hold. Marvin Mims, I love as a hold. Right? And then I think Keaton Mitchell is worth holding just simply, or Jordan Mason, I'd rather hold actually if we're going to put a name there. But I was going to say Keaton Mitchell just because we never really got to see him fully recovered. But Jordan Mason is a free agent. So it wouldn't shock me if Jordan Mason, you know, what happens if the Cowboys are like, hey, we're not going to go running back. We signed Jordan Mason and rock with him and Rico Dowdle, you know?
Sure.
I don't know what team it would be, but he could end up having a chance.
Right. Yeah.
As far as drops, I'm pretty comfortable.
Kareem Hunt and Rasheen Ali. Those are the 2 guys
You
I would
put
drop.
Kareem Hunt and Rasheen Ali.
Yeah.
I'd rather hold Kareem just to see if they re-sign him and drop like Herbert instead.
Khalil Herbert?
I think Vidal is an easy drop. I love Mayer, but I would drop him if I needed space. Not that you have to, but I would drop him if you need space.
Yeah.
All right. I like this. I'm liking what we're working with here.
Yeah, no, it's a good team. It's exactly where you want to be to go and compete this year. And once again, like we said, you have the capital for the needs that you need going into this 25 class. So
yeah,
getting one of these running backs is going to be huge. You already have a good solid RB, I guess, low end RB1, high end RB2. But the fact that you can get your RB1 and some depth behind that as well with the 107 is huge.
Yeah, I agree. So you're going to be in this range with both of these picks where, I mean, in an ideal world, if you got multiple guys going in round 2, let's say that's Hampton and Johnson or Hampton and Henderson, I don't care. Yeah. Like in an ideal world, that's your first 2 picks. Let's say there's no running backs available, but Cam Ward or Sanders are there, and they're at top 5 picks, and great, because you could use a quarterback 3 for the future, and if Cam Ward or Sanders hits, you can either keep them and trade Herbert, or tier down, or look at running back that way. But you're really extracting the most value, whether that's quarterback or running back. Really, I think that's really it's the strength of this class. Running back is, so it's a very realistic possibility that it is also the true BPA already.
Yeah I agree.
Now, I don't really want to trade these picks away. I wouldn't mind tearing down from the 103. I'll say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like with the picks, specifically the 103, because I thought about can we use the 103 to go get a running back? I just don't think they're in that range that I love. At least maybe for me personally. Like according to this, is like Breece Hall. I don't think you can get a Saquon. I mean, we were just talking about Saquon for the 101, right? So then it's Saquon who's RB4, then Breece Hall. What about Devon Achane?
I'd rather stick and pick.
Yeah, same. So like,
I think at worst you're getting a round 2 running back here.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I don't really want to move that, but if we want to maximize value, like we can go from the 104 is an option, the 105 is an option, the 107 is an option. The further you go back, the more danger you are that you don't have a running back that you're really in love with, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you lose flexibility. So why don't we look at the 104 team, see if there's anything that makes sense. And of course, you know, keep in mind, I feel like it goes without saying because everyone really knows this by now, but keep in mind that you don't have to do this deal now, right? Moving back, it's probably most effective during your rookie draft. That's probably when you're going to extract the most value for that pick.
Yeah.
Who has the 104 here?
I'm trying to find it. I can't find it right now.
Well, I have the 105 here. It's the 10th team for the win.
Oh, Beer 30, by the way, it has 104. But
Okay.
Continue.
Yeah, this is a weird team because there's really nothing that at all, actually, that I'm really intrigued by.
Brooklyn agrees.
He agrees, yeah. Who has the 103?
Beer 30, team 6.
Okay, yeah. So, like, the 104, like, almost feel like Tyrone Tracy makes a lot of sense as a trade down, you know? You kind of take on that risk. But you add a little bit more depth in that area of need. And then you're still in a range to get a great running back anyway. What about, like, getting creative with quarterback 3 here? Like, the 103 plus Derek Carr or something. And we try and, you know, get either a Tua tags. And then we have to add something to this, right? But let's say what we added was... What do we have to add here?
It could be one of the...
Javonte Williams, maybe?
Yeah, it has to be one of these guys.
I don't know. Like, as a starter offer, I'm not going to sit here and claim that this is even doable, but, you know, just some combination here to at least make it, like, a conversation. If you can do that for Tua, honestly, I would do this for A-Rich. I know we talked about A-Rich being a high-risk, high-reward, but I would rather have one of those guys as my quarterback 3 and just move back one spot. Shoot, I mean, I'd do it for Dak too, but it's probably not going to happen for Dak.
I think it's just a tier up, essentially. Like, you're tiering up your QB3.
Yeah.
Which is good. And, like, you're getting a better QB3 in this scenario, but you're still staying within that range where we're going to be okay with you getting a running back at that 104. Caleb Johnson, you know, all these type of running backs that can fall there, or hell, even a wide receiver, Travion Henderson, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the options there. I mean, I wouldn't really tear down for like Aaron Jones. I wouldn't tear down for Kyle Pitts. I wouldn't tear down for, you know, shoot, even Jaden Reed, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, I might, but I don't know. It'd be tough. The guy who has a 105, excuse me, I just don't see anything intriguing to me. And I don't think you can get your hands on a Penix either. So I don't think the 105 is possible. Let's try the 106, which is Big Papa. Like, kind of a similar deal, but you're going for Bryce Young. Right? So, very similar deal. But instead you're getting the 106 and Bryce Young there. And in our opinion, you're going to get a player that's probably just as valuable at the 106 as the 103. Now, the issue is if running backs don't go really high and these wide receivers don't, you might be putting yourself in a difficult position. But even if that happens, you can go ahead and turn the 106 into a starting running back. I mean, right now you can get Josh Jacobs pretty easily, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can add something to get like a Breece Hall. So you still have flexibility if that works out. But you even could use Bryce Young, right? Go use Bryce Young, and so.
Yeah, had a good end of the season last year, so I think a lot of people are loving it.
I don't see like another name here, unfortunately. I mean, you could always go the classic, very simple, pick swap where what we would do is we would grab the 106 and we want your future first. We'll give you the 103 and, a future second, right? Like that kind of thing we see all the time. The only other pick is the 107, and this is where you need to extract the most value because you are really putting yourself in like the leftovers category. Oh, he has a 107.
He has a 107, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't want to go down to the 108. I want to still, I still want to try and grab one of those running backs.
Yeah, no, I think the best bet here is sticking and picking or just trading back for one of these. Trading back to the 104 or the 105 just to see where that leads you. Because like Zach already highlighted, having Chuba Hubbard, Amarion Hampton, and Travion Henderson, you're easily a contender going into this year and have the depth to do it at the wide receiver position with some guys that we told you to hold, like Malik Washington, the Marvin Mims, the Troy Franklins are all there. So
yeah, trade away targets: Javonte Williams, Derek Carr. Now that it's super flex, Nick Chubb. A lot of these guys aren't going to net you anything, right? Really, that's it. But I think what you're best to do with these guys is use these players as throw-ins to get a deal over the line. And when I say that, I mean the guy's like, I'm interested. Like, let me think on it. And then, he replies. He's like, hey, is there anything else we can do? Well, how about I give you Javonte Williams? He's going to be a free agent, right? And, that gets a deal done. Of course, if you can, get any second in any year for Javonte Williams, you take it. For Derek Carr, I guess in Superflex, maybe if he starts hot in season, you couldn't get that right now, right? Then you could look at like that if you're not able to sell him, which probably not. It's going to be almost impossible. And then Nick Chubb, I just don't think you're getting anything worthwhile.
Yeah.
Those are the main tradable names. I don't see anyone else I'm really wanting to sell here.
No, I don't think so either. Just keep these guys, and that's it, really.
What about Kmet? Would you take a second for Kmet? Because we keep getting that question where people are like, hey, Ben Johnson. That means Kmet is Laporta, right? So, I mean, if you could get like any, let's say 206 to the 210, I think I would take that.
Yeah, I think it just depends on where and who is that. Like, if I put a name to it, like a Devin Neal, I'll take Devin Neal over Cole Kmet right now. I would like to see what that's going to look like. Like, if you're telling me Keenan Allen's no longer on this team and they don't address the wide receiver position, I think Cole Kmet could have a role where he's probably like, he has spike weeks, but he's not a game changer.
No, I don't think so
for your team.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's also a scenario where Keenan Allen decides to resign, and we're like, shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
you're not getting anywhere near a second. So I think I would take a second for sure. I really love the idea of, like, we talked about Bryce Young with the 106. We talked about Tua with the 104.
I don't mind
the Kmet deal. You wanted to, which one?
Yeah. I don't mind the 103 and the 104 for Tracy.
Yeah.
Like, just cheering back, getting some more depth.
Yeah. So those are some options for you, but you've done a fantastic job. You should no longer consider yourself a rebuild. You're in that sleeper category. You're playing with house money right now. Great team. Is there anything we didn't address for the playbook, which you'll make afterwards, obviously? But
yeah, no, I think you got everything all settled. One last thing, as always, you're going to be receiving your playbook within 72 hours, customized with all information that we built in here for you today and spoke about. Yeah, man, all customized to you. So we really appreciate you and all the support.
Yeah, appreciate you big time, my friend. All right, we are moving on to P. Santoro, which I believe he's in the chat with us. Patrick, I believe, is here with us. No,
Big old Patrick.
my name is Patrick. And, you know, Jesse's asking about Tracy. I think it's a 50-50 chance right now, right? I'm willing to move back one spot and take that chance, though. Ryan,
Yeah, I think it just depends.
I love the 202 for Brian Robinson. I'll take the 202 all day. Love the value of an early second this year. I mean, you could get a. I just think Brian Robinson has a real chance of losing his job, is what I'm trying to say. All right, Pat is with us. Patrick. We've got Patrick.
Yeah, do it Patrick. I hate when people call me Dan. It's not my name.
Really?
Patrick. Yeah, don't like it. But you know how Australians always like.
Yeah. All right, take this review away, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know. A lot of people don't even know your first name, actually.
No, I think if I actually want to poll the chat one day randomly when they forget my name again and say, "What's my first name?"
Yeah.
Anyways, let's read this context. He says, hoping to break through after a productive struggle. My wide receiver core is solid, but lacks a true game changer. Running backs are weak, but with my draft capital, I can either address it in the draft or trade picks to upgrade. Looking forward to your thoughts. Okay, so this is a 12 team, or 2 quarterback, 12 team, start 9.5 tight end premium.
So that
this is meat and potatoes.
So pretty much the same exact format as we just looked at.
Yeah, exactly. The same exact format we just looked at here. And let's have a look at your team here. And Patrick, let us know if there's anything that is wrong or the picks. Just correct us if there's anything. And feel free at any point in time to jump in with any information, context that you would like to
at it in the chat for sure.
Yeah. All right, looking at this, you're currently ranked first out of 12 according to Zach's rankings. Jaden Daniels, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. So some solid quarterbacks, especially Jaden Daniels and Bryce Young, especially that second half of the season. At the running back position, not the best. 2 guys we were hoping to have a big role coming into the 2024 season. They go into backup roles, unfortunately, but anything can happen. But you do have some draft capital, like you mentioned. At the wide receiver position, you can start up to 4. Lad, JSN, Richie Rich, Roma Dunze, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Coker, and the list goes on. With the tight end position not being the strongest, even though you have a first round tight end in Dalton Kincaid, which is just sad.
And you know, honestly, I'll say this: Kincaid, the reports that he played was like a torn PCL or whatever all year. So that is really interesting information to know. You know, for me at least, at least it gives you a reason. You're not like, shit, we have no idea why he wasn't good. Well, maybe, just maybe, he was injured the entire year, which is what they're claiming. But yeah, I believe the reason this team is ranked number 1 in my rankings is because of Jaden Daniels and the draft capital, right? Because you look at this, we got the 101, the 106, the first 3 picks in round 2. And we have 2 firsts and 26, and we don't even see his 27 draft capital. So if you're here, Patrick, just tell us what you have in 27. Is it just your own, or do you have multiple? When I look at this roster, I definitely think we can compete this year. You know, the 101 makes me feel like we instantly have a top 3 running back in Dynasty in Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
And then at the 106, if we hit on another guy, but we have 3 more chances in a very running back heavy class. So I definitely think we can compete this year. Patrick said he moved Pitts in a late second for Kincaid in the 202. Well, that is shocking. That must have happened in season. There's no way that happened in the offseason, because the person who got Pitts got both of the worst assets in that deal somehow. So, in season.
Yeah, another thing I'm noticing here is that you have 1, 2, 3, 4 picks in the second round, and 3 of those picks are the 201, the 202, and the 203, which, once again, we kind of spoke about this earlier in the live stream. the early second round is actually panning out to be really good.
Yeah.
And if the capital is there for some of these players, specifically these running backs or wide receivers, of course,
Oh, yeah.
you can get some really good talent here. And
which we'll talk about, but I agree with you, man. Like you could find a couple Bucky Irvings. Maybe. You're not going to find a couple Bucky Irvings, right? He's so good, but you'll find like maybe some starters, some Chuba Hubbards. Untouchables. It's Jaden Daniels and the 101. I don't want to trade the 101 with this roster. And we'll talk about what I would trade the 101 for, but with this roster, I don't think I would. As far as holds, with a productive struggle, it's not a surprise that you have a ton of holds. That's kind of the direction you're trying to go anyway. You're trying to get the discounts on the injured guys. And, so like Ayuk was perfect. Rice is perfect for this team. So I think Ayuk's a great hold. I would say Rashee Rice is a great hold. Rome Odunze. I like Trey Benson as well. I still believe it's just like you can only believe what you've seen. And every game he's had opportunities. He's been great. Do you know what I mean? He's been great.
Yeah, we're not wrong. We were just a year early with James Conner's injuries. Guaranteed it's not as terrible.
It is hilarious though that we love Trey Benson so much, and then it's like, look, there's never been a single year of James Conner's career where he's not been injured for multiple games, and he's like, I'm gonna do it now when I'm the oldest. Yeah. So yeah. But I love all those as holds. To be honest, like your top 3 running backs are all holds, because I could see Blake Corum's role growing in year 2.
Yeah, so I have Ayuk, Coker, Blake Corum, and Trey Benson. Obviously we can put more, but we probably want to put some drops.
Yeah, drops. You can move on from Treylon. I had to have a ceremony on my own in my room with his poster on the wall, and just had a private ceremony sending him off. He's no longer rostered on most of my teams, so you can drop him for sure. If you need to clear space, you have way too many tight ends, but all these guys are like holds, which is funny. Like, you're not going to drop Jarrett Wiley with Kelsey maybe retiring. Theo could become the number one. And I would be okay dropping all, because he'll be injured the entire year. We found that out. And he's already an older guy and not high draft capital. If you need to go further, we'll only put 2 on the graphic, but if you need to go further, I think you could drop Polk. I'd rather hold him right now. And you could drop Dameon Pierce, but I'd rather hold him right now. Patrick says, going to have 6 guys after the draft. Yeah, so we'll add a couple names here. What's up, Bricks?
What's happening, Bricks?
What's up, Brixie?
He's not I think we have him as a I just made you a moderator. I think he was a moderator for
Fantasy
redraft, not Dynasty. Yeah. Anyways. Love Bricks.
Okay, so he needs to clear up 6 spaces. And let's just say if we had to make cuts right now, it would be Burks, which we talked about. It'd be Eric, which we'd already talked about. If I had to, I'd add Polk there. If I had to, I'd add Dameon Pierce. That's 4. And again, if we have to make these calls, I think Yeshivas is probably next. That's 5. And then I probably would drop one of these tight ends.
I do Eric. Yeah, Eric all.
Henry isn't far off, but he was a startable name.
He was a startable name. I want to keep Henry.
Maybe Theo I would drop. I don't want to drop Theo. But
I think it all depends on the draft. So, for example, let's say if Travis Kelce stays and they draft one of these tight ends, like they draft Elijah Royal in the 3rd round. Are you still keeping Jared Wiley?
Say again. Sorry, they draft Jalen Royals, you said?
No, Elijah Arroyo in the 3rd round. Yeah, so then you can drop. No. I think you can wait until the draft to see if the Chiefs do draft a tight end, because then Jared Wiley could be droppable.
Yeah. I was gonna say Roman Wilson, but I want to give him his fair share, because he was injured pretty much the entire year. I was gonna go there. Austin says my Trey Benson
Pierce
shares were
we didn't say Damian.
In shambles. Connor waited until champ week. Yeah, unlucky. That sounds good, Patrick. That's probably your best outcome, is to package some of these guys for future picks. Yeah, no, I said Dameon Pierce.
Okay.
As far as the pathway for this team, it feels like the same as the previous one. I think this is another sleeper.
Yeah, because you're just gonna go in and compete once you get these running backs on your team.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have like any top tier wide receiver, but let's just play it out. Okay, let's play out the draft. Let's think this through. Okay,
I think he has
this
so
is
much
Brad's.
capital he can be a sleeper. That's what's exciting.
Exactly. Like there's plenty of outcomes here where you end up as a sleeper. I've got your draft capital here. So at the 101, obviously we're gonna take Ashton Genty, right? And if you are gonna trade the 101 in scenario 2, it's Gibbs or Bijan. That's it, right? I mean, you don't move the 101 for anything else. I mean, with this team though, I actually think the list is longer.
Well, yeah, I always say like Malik or Brian Thomas, even though I know you say it's doubtful that you can get him, but I would think if people really love him, maybe you could.
Can I tell you what I'm so nervous about is the Jags being on the clock and saying, you know what, Ted McMillan's the best value. Let's just grab him.
Oh, are you scared of that?
I am.
Really? Well, I think we had the conversation.
I think Brian is a better prospect overall. I really do.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
But
yeah, because I was like, oh well, what happens if they get Ted? Like, how we feel about Brian? Is it just because like it's not going to be Brian anymore? It's just going to be Brian and
it's Ted? Just you're in a shit offense, which might get better, but now you're in a shit offense where you split opportunities, right? So that's my only concern. But I do think I did have Brian as a higher graded prospect. It's not anything against Ted, but it is something you have to think about. But it wouldn't stop me from trading the 101 for him, because I don't think that's their biggest need. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's up, buddy? Sorry, my puppy just walked in. Did you have a good little walk? Anyway, okay. So, what about like Puka Nacua plus or something?
I mean, yeah.
Right, like if that's possible. That's actually, you can't get a plus because Puka's probably just as valuable as those guys. So anyway, like these are the only ways you sell the 101, right? With this team. You know, you could use a top tier guy. I think you could use running back more. So if you're going to sell the one, that's the only way you do it. Now, at the 106, you're going to be in this spot where you are in a great position to add another running back with those top guys that we like, right? The Hamptons, Johnson, Hendersons.
Yeah,
really love those guys in that range. So let's say it's Caleb Johnson. For whatever reason, people are getting lower on him. It's like, Badaki, it's like every month there's a different... Actually, it's like every 2 weeks, there's a different running back that people are trying to tear apart in this class. It was Hampton for a while. I finally saw someone talk highly on him on Twitter, which is not common, which I love to see. Now it's Caleb Johnson people are trying to tear apart. It's like every couple weeks they're trying to tear apart one of these great prospects for some reason.
Well, it kind of just makes sense. Like it was kind of like that with the quarterbacks. Everyone was like, "Oh, I like this quarterback better. I like this quarterback better. Caleb shouldn't be the 101. It should be Daniels or
May,
or blah blah blah." Yeah, it was just the whole thing. Anyways.
Yeah. But either way, you know, whatever tickles your pickle here, you're in a great position. And then you look at the 201, 202, 203. I mean, these could be all potentially starters in the league. I'm not saying it will. I mean, I doubt Brashard Smith is really in that conversation. It's more of a pipe dream for me that he gets good draft capital and I can talk about him in that conversation. You know? More than anything, I can recognize it's probably a pipe dream.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do love him. I do really love him. Okay, so that is like your outcome. So let's just play out the world. You grab Genty, you grab Johnson, you come back at the 201, and you know you grab a Matthew Golden, you grab an Arroyo, and then you get a Scatterboo with these picks, right? Like this is your outcome. Because you might not go running back with all of them. Shoot, if you don't want Golden and Sampson's there, or Neal Giddens there, they have great draft capital, go that way, right? But you're adding Genty, Johnson, Scatterboo to a running back room that desperately needs help. We know Genty's going to hit. At least I can't say I know, but I feel confident based off history. And then you just need Johnson or Scatterboo to be a starter in year one. Then you add Royals, you add Arroyo to a tight end room that, you know, has some question marks. And, I'd also go ahead and say, which I probably should have talked about, but like Loveland is also in play here, as well as Tyler Warren with these early picks. If you don't go Golden here, right, and instead you grab Colson Loveland, you're definitely not in a position where you can say no to a good tight end. Some of them will fall out of the first round.
Yeah, some of them will fall. I mean, it is a 0.5 tight end premium, which I always say is not that big of a deal.
True.
But
Depends
in
on
some leagues,
I guess.
Some leagues like to take tight ends a little bit earlier.
So those are like your ranges of outcome here, and it all kind of fits the needs of your team, which is fantastic. Now, again, with the 101, it's either Genty or one of these names. So I don't really want to get creative with that because in a start 9 Superflex, I'm not really like I want these top names,
Yeah.
But is there anyone there's no one here I really want to trade away because that is typically the case on a productive struggle as well.
My thought process was, can we use one of these seconds to just get a running back? Like the first person that came to mind was like because like we always say, oh, if you have the 112, 111, get Chuba, but can you squeeze him in with the 201?
Ooh, I like that.
Right. Same. I forgot the other guy we always used to talk about.
Let's find out who has Chuba Hubbard because we can add the 212 to that and maybe get something back in return to kind of meet someone in the middle. But you're right. That's a great idea because Chuba Hubbard is like the easiest running back to trade for right now this offseason. And look who has him.
Perfect. This is perfect.
This is perfect.
Quincy. He has so many running backs. He's probably needing a wide. Try for Chuba. This guy's unreasonable.
Really? What did you offer him? What did you offer him, Pat? So, to be clear, this guy is just going to keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starting running backs and have no depth anywhere else.
Oh, he's probably
That's his game plan in a running back heavy class. Okay. He wanted Ladd?
Wait, what? Go ahead, send him the clip. Go ahead, Zach. Send him the clip.
Well, only thing I could tell him is congratulations on your running back room. You'll never trade these running backs because you're being unreasonable.
He values running backs over everything.
Well, that would be hard to tell looking at his roster, wouldn't it? I mean, the most I could offer him is like the 201, the 212 for Hubbard and his 309. I would do that, Badaki.
I would as well.
That's the most we could offer him. But like he has so many running backs in this range. Like I would do that as well for James Cook. I don't need the 3rd round pick back in that deal. I'm not really wanting to purchase Chase Brown right now. Purchase sounded weird. I'm not really wanting to buy, but
you want to purchase one of these guys, huh?
Didn't sound right, did it? Very quickly sounded wrong. Okay, so yeah, like I just don't understand. That guy's just being completely unreasonable. What are the other names that we were talking about there? I mean, really, I feel like Hubbard was the belle of the ball.
I think it was Hubbard. I think James Cook was also in that category as well. I'm trying to think, like, obviously it just falls off, right? I think of the James Connors, the Alvin Kamara's, but I feel like I don't want to pay the early second.
No, not for those vets. I'd rather see how the class pans out. What about like
a Monty? CMC? Sure, CMC.
So like I'd pay the 201, and I mean in a lot of leagues I think you can actually get that done straight up. But we could do like a pick swap where I add the 212 and I get back the 307. I'm not opposed to that. Okay, so you lose the 201 and the 212. Well, you still have the 202, the 203, the 106, and the 101. And that really puts you more into a contender. I mean, maybe instead you could ask back for Travis Etienne. 201 and 212 for CMC and Etienne. That seems pretty fair.
Yeah, and that just continues to build your running back room. You get more depth as well there. And you still get Ashton on your team.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Ken Walker, I'm actually not opposed to buying, and I think it would be the same offer as Cook as a start. You might have to pay a little more for Walker, what does that guy have? He has a 210. Yeah, there's not really a... What about like the 201? What about something like this, Badaki, where you do like... I think this might be an overpay based off this class, to be honest. But the 201 plus the 203, and then you get back Ken Walker and the 210. I don't know. I'm not opposed to that. But I hate giving up 2 of those early seconds, so I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. That's probably about it. I mean, obviously the other way that we can go is wide receiver.
Well, sorry, just quickly, one thing I wanted to mention is you could buy James Conner. No, I mean, you have Trey Benson. You could buy James Conner.
You could buy James
So
Conner
like 203 range, you probably could get something back. So who has Connor? I'm trying to remember. It's the Island.
The Island.
Could you get back like? Well, I mean, you could probably get back like the 304 at minimum, but you could also try and do like a pick swap, where you go 203. You want Connor and the 208, and then we would give you.
Yeah, Patrick. I mean, obviously, as Zach is drawing that, like these trades could be done either before or after, because we don't believe these guys' values specifically, like the Chubas, the James, Kenneth Walker's values, are going to change unless something crazy happens. Like, yeah, that's like the Bills drafting a wide receiver in the early second. We're like, oh shit, like what's going to happen with James Conner, right? James Cook, excuse me.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if the Cardinals go running back.
Do something again, yeah. So like,
but
these guys,
it is fair to assume
fine.
There could be risk, but I will be shocked, yeah.
But you can do it closer to the draft or after the draft, where these guys' values fall even lower. Because I think a lot of people love to see pathways, right? Oh, the 49ers get another guy.
He has a 304. Why am I using the 304 there? That's what he has.
No, the Island has a 304.
Oh,
so
yeah,
James
okay,
Conner plus a 304.
Right. Sorry, that's what
it was the opposite. Oh no, yeah, you did have it right.
Yeah,
no risk. I feel the value of the pick would be higher at that point.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. The value of the pick would be higher, so you can probably squeeze out more value.
You could,
that.
Yeah.
100%.
You could. I view it as low risk just because you own the whole backfield, but I definitely get that thought, and it's unlikely the picks lose value towards the draft based off what everyone's saying about the running backs, but it is possible. So you're playing a risk either way. But it's most likely that all these trades are going to be able to be done closer to April, right? Yeah, but I don't really like the idea. Like, I don't really want to explore like a trading Daniels, not in a start 9.
No.
The only other thing I could think of here, Badaki, is like using A-Rich in a pick to get more solidified.
Oh,
running.
Fire alarm going off over there.
Do you remember when I was in the apartments and the fire alarm went off and I had to leave the stream?
Yeah, it's like, oh well, Zach's building's burning down. I'll be right back.
Give me a second. Yeah.
So A-Rich in the 203 is definitely a pathway. I'm not sure where Zach was going, but I'll tell you my thought process when he does come back. Before he comes back, is you can still get maybe some low end wide receivers, because if you are going to be competing, and you do get the Ashton Genties and another running back, maybe you can get a wide receiver with those seconds.
Come here, Bubba.
Depending on who that wide receiver is. Oh, does he get scared with the...
Yeah, he hates the loud noises.
Yeah, Blaze hates it as well.
Yeah.
He was terrified of it.
Got anything to say? Any ideas here? Okay. So what were the names we're thinking of here? A-Rich in the 203. Go to my rankings.
I'm not sure where you were going with A-Rich, but...
So yeah, my idea was using A-Rich and one of these early seconds to essentially to tier up at quarterback, right? To get a more secure asset like A-Rich and the 203 Brock Purdy. Would you do?
Sure.
That might be paying too much, but like I'm just gonna list a name of quarterbacks that I consider it for, and then we can look at those teams. Maybe that's the best way to do it. Like Brock Purdy, Michael Penix. And again, we'll see what we can get in return for some of these deals. Jordan Love. Maybe that's kind of the range you're in. I think Jordan Love straight up is probably fair. But if we want to try and get these other two names, you might be able to get more in return.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to like. He does not want to be on his own when that noise happens. He hates it. He already has Bryce Young. I see that comment, but he already has Bryce Young, guys. So. Okay, let's. Are you gonna be okay now? Are you gonna be all right?
Okay.
Let's put you on the couch. Sorry.
12.
Everything's all right. You're gonna be all right. Okay, you're not gonna be okay.
Don't stop being a little bitch. Family friendly guy.
So these are like some of the ideas. I think Jordan Love straight up is probably fair, but let's look at the Purdy team. Just quickly see if you can get anything back. Yeah, Purdy could work actually. I mean, could you get back like a Ricky Pearsall or something? That would actually be really cool. I'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
You hear that they could potentially cut Debo? It would save them money if they cut him rather than trade him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he could be a free agent. Penix. Penix could work. I think we need Penix and what do you say? Like Penix and Jameson would be ideal.
Something like that, yeah.
Or yeah, Penix and Jamo. Alternatively, you could do Penix and Jaden Reed. I think that's probably it right there. So those are some options. Again, I really like this route, like using one of those picks to kind of tier up. Like if you're telling me I can go out there and get Purdy and Pearsall, that would be so ideal. You still have the 201, the 202. You know, I just feel much better about that quarterback room trying to go and compete.
Yeah, I like that as well.
We won't highlight the Hubbard and Cook deals because it doesn't seem possible based off the conversation we've had. I like the Ken Walker idea. Those are three. Is there one you want to highlight here?
Let's just do one of the 101s.
Like Neighbors, yeah.
Yeah, I could do the Neighbors one.
But you're in a great position, man. Like the draft capital really complements the needs, which is what you want to see ideally.
100%. 100%. Patrick, please chime in if you have any last minute questions or any other last minute thoughts you want to say. But I'll give you the spiel. 72 hours until you get your customized playbook within the Flock Fantasy Measure system with all the customized information that we have done here for you. And we appreciate the support. He says, what if anything are you willing to put on top of Genty for Bijan or Gibbs?
Nothing. I know it's probably silly, which is why we kept saying like Genty is really where we want to stay here when we look at the chalkboard. Like Genty is really perfect for this team. I mean, yeah, it's funny. Like Flock just joined, says perfect for that team. I agree. But I'm not willing to like tear up.
It's not that like
same.
My quick thought process.
He's in the same tier as him for me as well. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. I think like if I'm really want the Bijan or Gibbs, I'm throwing like the guys that we were saying we're gonna cut for no reason.
Yeah.
Right. Like here's Draylon, here's Yeshivas, here's somebody who doesn't matter to me at all that I was gonna
Marvin
cut
Mims
anyway. Like just to get it, if someone's coming to you, I just need something, a little piece. Sure, I'll give Marvin Mims to get you over the line.
Not Jalen Coker though.
No, not not the Cokers, not the people that we want to keep on your team.
Yeah, so again, I think the picks are really suited to the needs of your team. I think you're in a great spot. I'd love to improve quarterback 2 a little bit. Purdy Pearsall is like, that would be an unreal combo. The Connor deal makes sense, obviously, because You know, you've got Benson already there, so we're trying to kind of turn this more into a sleeper pathway. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the team, man. Big fan of the team. I think I had something else to say, but I don't even remember. But yeah, like you think about, you know, I agree with Mason here. He says Gingy's in the same tier. I agree. Think about this. I feel confident he's a top 20 pick in the NFL draft first round. Let's talk through some of the landing spots. Raiders feels like the first logistical, realistic possibility, right? If he lands there, I'm not upset about that. We've talked about Chicago. I'm fine with that. Dallas is everyone's favorite. You know, I don't think JT in Miami makes sense. Bijan Atlanta doesn't make sense. Arizona doesn't need a running back. If he goes to Cincinnati, I'm fine with that. Right? Denver makes sense. Pittsburgh makes sense. The Chargers make sense. Minnesota makes sense. Like, you can't convince me a team that I'm like, shit. Now he's less valuable. I mean, I think you make the opposite argument. If he actually goes to Dallas, which everyone is talking about, is he not a first-round pick in a startup draft in Superflex, like right where Gibbs and Bijan are?
And that's kind of what we've been saying. Like, once you put the team with the name, the value is going to skyrocket even more.
Yeah.
So if you're saying like, oh, somebody wants me to add something for Ashton Genty for Gibbs that is already established, but what if I told you he goes to one of the best offensive lines in the league?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the Chargers, we throwing a party. That's right. Yeah. So no, I've found it surprising because we actually had a conversation in one of our follower leagues last week. Someone traded the 101 and they asked me what I thought about it, and I just said, look, I think I would view the 101 the same way I would view Gibbs and Bijan. So I think this was maybe undersold, right? And a lot of people are like, no, I don't feel that way. And I don't feel as if, you know, he's deserving to be there yet because he hasn't been drafted. But I mean, this is why I always go back and I say I truly don't think people realize how good Ashton Genty was this year. Like, historically, one of the most impressive seasons you will ever see. I mean, you want to go back, like, someone in the chat tell me one of the most impressive seasons in the last 15 years, right? Jonathan Taylor comes to mind. What was that, 2019? Yep, that was an incredible year. Melvin Gordon comes to mind, which I don't think we actually have that database. That would be too far back. But Jonathan Taylor, I mean, who else was close in the last 15 years? I mean, even if you put Saquon here, he's not going to compare. Right? Different conference. Saquon's... The reality is, like, he's just as good of a prospect. I mean, Zeke went top 5, right?
Yeah, I was thinking... Yeah, that's probably... I can't think of anyone.
I mean, you look at just...
Derek, maybe?
Derrick Henry? Well, he was at Bama. They had just so many running backs. So his collegiate numbers aren't that impressive, unfortunately. But I mean, yeah, this doesn't include postseason, by the way. So no playoffs are included in this. But 7.3 yards per carry. It's more about the avoided tackles. 124. I mean, he literally set records there. Yards to contact per attempt. Todd Gurley, yeah, let's see. Do we have Todd Gurley? Was that... I actually do remember... No, we don't have it. It's too far back. No. Too far back. But, yeah, people are just not giving him credit because he played in the Mountain West. Really, that is the problem for people. And then people try to discredit his receiving profile, which is so stupid. Because if you look at his year in 2023, Badaki, he had more receiving yards than most of the wide receivers who went in round 2. He led the nation in receiving yards and receptions amongst running backs in 2023. And he has, in 2023, he had more receiving yards and receptions than any single season that Gibbs or Bijan ever had in college. They clearly wanted him to get the 2,000-yard mark, you know? Henry had 22 at Bama, did he? He had 1,800. This is only looking at regular season. He was definitely impressive. Like, don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, I guess I must have forgotten about that. Because I feel like they had so many running backs they were splitting between. But yeah, he was still very good, wasn't he?
Who Derrick Henry come in with?
What was that class? You know, he didn't really shine straight away in Tennessee. It took him a while. Anyway.
Yeah.
When was drafted? 2016? Is that right?
I think so. I don't know why, but I just thought of like Mark Andrews or Mark Ingram, but that was before. He was after Mark Ingram.
Henry had 60 less rushing yards. This was regular season. So, I mean, in the regular season alone, Genty had almost almost 600 more yards in the regular season alone. But hard to put the postseason there. 2016 draft, yeah. What was he, round 2? Where did he go? Round 2, pick 14, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was round 2. Yeah.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. So anyway, that's a spiel on Ashton Genty. And Patrick, do you have any last minute questions for us here, my friend? Like Badaki said, your playbook will be customized and sent to you within 72 hours. And where you find that, by the way, is you go to my reviews, and then when you'll see your reviews here, and there'll be a little message tab. For example, we haven't completed your review yet, so you'll see like the message tab here. It'll be sent there within 72 hours. But fun team, man. It's kind of funny how similar the two teams we reviewed today were.
Yeah. I think they had the same picks. Then he had the 103.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Patrick. Thank you so much for the support, brother. Genuinely, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Good team.
All right, guys. We appreciate you big time. We are going to review. Well, Scary's currently offline. We'll wait for him to reply, but tomorrow we'll get to these other reviews. And we are, I mean, at the moment, we are able to guarantee, like, if you buy a review, it's done in the same week. Very, very easily right now. Appreciate you guys for being here. Anything else before we leave?
No. Some exciting new things coming up for the Dynastyland brand, so stay tuned throughout this week.
Yep.
You're probably already seeing sprinkles of that throughout videos and draft guides and stuff. So that's gonna be really exciting.
Yeah.
But huge love, guys.
Yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.